Welcome to episode 2 of the Go Ivy or Go Free podcast. I am really excited today. I have Kate Stone with me, and it's not often that I get to say that I'm like genuinely excited to meet somebody else who is in this space, because to be candid, like I spend a lot of my time on social media just calling out the clowns. But Kate, I started recognizing her content actually last summer. I was in Greece on vacation when, a bunch of people, came into my Q&A that I was doing on Instagram and were asking me like, hey, like who else would you recommend in this space? And I, started tagging her among a couple other creators, because I actually was engaging with her work and found that she was being honest, which is a rare, unfortunately, quality in this space. And sometimes, it comes off abrasive, but it makes a really big difference in the outcome at the end, because you're not going to get into any of these schools unless you're being honest. And the goal of this podcast really is going to be shedding a light on admissions and on some of the features of college that are frankly just being lied about because they're inconvenient truths. What I want to do today with Kate is, first off, figure out a lot about her background, because I haven't had a chance to learn about that as much yet. So we're going to talk about that, but also talk about a lot of those lies. We're going to call out a bunch of those things, and it'll get a little spicy, I hope, right? It'll be fun. If we don't get a few people mad at us after this.
I'm Sicilian, it's going to get spicy.
Una fazza, una razza, right? It's going to be a thing, right? So it's going to be it's going to be a lot of fun. But anyway, so Kate, thank you so much for coming out here. I really appreciate that. I know it was your anniversary with your husband yesterday too, right? So
yes, we totally forgot because we're so obsessed with what we're doing. We sometimes forget about like the life stuff. We spend about 12 hours a day, 7 days a week together.
I bet.
We do everything together.
What is that like, running a business with your husband?
Well, you have to make sure that the person you're doing it with, you are totally compatible with.
Right.
Like that's the one thing. But I would say because of who he is and who I am and how passionate we are and how our skills and expertise sort of like perfectly meshed together. Honestly, like I couldn't be doing this without him.
Right.
He couldn't be doing this without me. Every day you get to show up and it's like play. Like our work is play. It is really hard play sometimes.
Right.
It's intense. It's exhausting. But we show up. We have a team now. We're like scaling the company, which is
I love that.
its own beast, right?
Right.
And so every morning we have at 10 a.m. we have an all team meeting. And it's all about creating the culture. And the culture is all about what impact are you having on these kids? Like, how are you changing their lives and their perspective and their direction? And it's like we're really motivated by the work itself. It's not just a way to like have have an income, or it's not accidental. It's so intentional, if that makes sense or translates.
No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. I mean, like, you're not going to get anything out of this unless you're planning from the start. But I'm curious a little bit about your background in this. Like, not a lot of kids wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to be a college admissions consultant one day,
God, I know,
right?
I know.
It's not something that.
I know you're going to ask this. Like, well, totally true.
I want to know, okay? Because I had a weird path into this space, and I mean, we'll talk about that at some point too. One of the things I was really excited to talk about with you, of course, is I want to hear about yours. I mean, like,
so weird.
Of all the things in the world, okay, where do you want to start?
Okay, I guess I could start with, I was not necessarily the greatest student, quote unquote. Like I didn't start off as like the super academic.
Okay.
I was a much more nonlinear learner. I was much more experiential, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And so after I graduated at NYU, I went to Asia and I was traveling for years.
Okay, slow down on that one.
Yeah.
How do you end up in Asia? Like of all places? I mean, did you have any connection to that?
I graduated college in 2008. Right.
Oh, okay. That would do it. Okay.
It was a nightmare.
Yeah. For the Gen Z people watching this, that was a really bad time to get a job, in case you're wondering.
It was impossible to get a job. Like you were screwed, like completely screwed. Way more screwed than you are right now.
You think so?
Well, because it was such a concentrated crash.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think maybe the space of possible careers was way smaller back then too, right? It was way more like trad careers. Social media was not really even a thing yet as much, right? Yeah. I see that with tech hiring today, actually, because I have some clients we work with even after college, and we're trying to help them get jobs. My little brother actually is applying for jobs in computer science right now, and it is a bloodbath out there.
Really?
Oh, dude, it's so bad. It's
Yeah, I believe that.
and you would think it has something to do with AI. I don't think so. It's just like the companies are just doing layoffs nonstop, and like we're saying, oh, okay, we have like massive growth at the same time. But like I know people who are graduating from like top 20 CS programs with almost 4.0 GPAs that are applying for like 1,000 jobs, and they're hearing back from like maybe 1% of the places they apply to.
Wow, that's kind of wild.
It's scary.
Yeah, that's really scary.
Yeah, but tell me about you. So at NYU, what were you studying there?
I studied communications and creative writing as a minor.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and I thought I wanted to go into fashion, if I'm being totally honest. I spent a year cold emailing Ralph Lauren. That was like my dream job.
I love it.
And I finally got the interview.
Right.
And I totally blew it.
Oh no.
Yeah. And it was like I showed up, got there, all the work that I had done to get the interview. It's pretty intense to get a fashion assistant job.
No, it's almost impossible. No, because people are expendable.
Yeah.
Like they don't even care. They'll just like kick you out in a heartbeat.
But look, my superpower is just like brute force. Like I just am relentless. If I want something and I have an idea in my mind,
right,
I will do whatever it takes, and I'll just keep gnawing at the thing for years.
Right, but you ended up in Asia.
So I didn't get that job.
Okay.
2000. I went out to California.
Oh, okay.
I was out in California for a brief period of time. And then there was just, like you said, it was just companies were closing left and right.
It was terrible.
It was really, really bad. And I thought, okay, well, why don't I go see the world and go like have an experience and like go teach in Asia.
I love it.
And I got a position in just out like a few hours outside of Bangkok in this village. And I started teaching English and English writing. And I was over there like a year, and then I went to Indonesia on like a holiday.
That's awesome.
And I like within a month, I'm going to live here, and I lived there for 3.5 years.
Where in Indonesia were you?
I was in Bali.
Oh my God, that must have been epic.
It was awesome because it was also before like all the digital nomad stuff.
Right.
So it felt like there was only 10,000 of us versus there being maybe like 100,000 expats in Bali now.
That's awesome.
So it was like a little Wild Westy.
Yeah.
And
you were in Bali before it was mainstream.
Yes, before it was mainstream. Yeah, because
Cool.
in high school, I had a family friend who had an import-export company, and I would work for her. So that was like my exposure initially to Asia and Bali.
Okay.
So I went to Bali because I had the connect.
Right.
I was kind of just following my nose. And being like, okay, that looks good. I'll go in that direction. Or like that's presenting itself over here. I'll go in that direction. I guess that's why I do the work I do is like, man, if someone had just been there to kind of give me some like frameworks for how to make decisions and how to move through the world, I think I would have done much better. And it turned out when I got to Bali, I actually found incredible mentors.
Oh, really?
Yes, that was where my life changed, was in Bali.
Well, tell me about the mentors you found. I mean, like who were they, and what was it that they taught you?
I'm just going to like really be totally honest.
Yeah.
So from my childhood, my father was like really smart guy, Georgetown lawyer, amazing intellect. His life was destroyed with alcohol.
Oh, no.
And so, when you come from a family of like where alcoholism is present, there are a lot of issues that you need to work through. Yeah. And so like once I left college, I got to Bali, it was like this beautiful landing pad for me to, first of all, see like kind of how off the rails I was, like emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and just in general, which is normal for when you're young. Right. Thank God I found people that were older than me. I was really good at finding people older than me. Right. I was actually always felt more comfortable with older people than I did with people my age because I had seen so much at that point. And I think I just felt more comfortable with adults who could relate. Like I had experiences that most kids don't have. Right. When I found people like this gorgeous blonde-haired aristocratic British woman named Zanti, who was a classical oil painter who'd been living out there for like 10 years. She's a very interesting woman. Yeah. And she's like, darling, Katie, I think you need Al-Anon, darling. So she brought me into the Al-Anon rooms, which are 12-step for families and especially children of alcoholics. So she brought me into these rooms in Bali where it turned out like a lot of like really famous, successful people would end up in Bali to heal and to end up in these rooms. So there was like a very rich community of 12 steppers in Bali. And I was in those meetings 4 days a week. And then I was with my mentors, who was my sponsor, who was running me through the steps of like, moral inventory, surrendering to God.
Right.
I was with him sometimes like 6-7 hours a day when I wasn't teaching kids in the evening. I'd go from villa to villa to villa to villa, teaching all the third culture kids who were at the green school and all the international schools in Bali.
Can you dive into that for just 1 second? 'Cause, first off, what's a third culture? Because
A third culture kid is a kid who like maybe is like Belgian. Dad is Belgian, mom is Moroccan, but they grew up in Bali. Or
so
like their mom is French, dad's American, they're diplomats, so they grew up in Russia.
Yeah.
And I got exposure to that when I did a year in Paris in college. And that's really where I was like, ooh, I like the international set. They're way more interesting. Like they were out of the bubble. They were like, they were kids who were passionate because they'd seen so much. They had exposure to so many things. And I just liked the way they operated. So I loved hanging around them. And so it was a very natural step for me to go, well, I'm going to go abroad because I know where they are. They're traveling the world. I want to go be in those communities. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, because you find people that aren't able to actually fit into a single cultural mold, right? It kind of like ruins a lot of the presuppositions that you'd have about like the way people would act, right? I experienced that actually when I was younger. My parents got divorced. Theirs was pretty nasty. It lasted like 10-ish years. The courts just torturing each other. It was horrible.
That's
but
brutal.
when I was 8, 7-ish, somewhere around there, my mom moved us to Greece, actually. And so I ended up spending 3 years in Greece, in Rhodes, and went to school there and then came back. And it was bizarre because I was, in Rhodes, I wasn't like the Greek kids. And in America, I wasn't like the American kids. And it was always that separation that never leaves you, right? And so you kind of have to then figure out your own path, right? Because you have that like, distinct experience. Let's talk. I want to go back to the Bali thing, though. I mean, like, so it sounds like you had a chance there to like totally reinvent yourself.
Completely. Yeah.
What was that like, choosing a new narrative?
Well, I had never been exposed to the 12-step philosophy. I had never been exposed to real, like, developing my own spiritual foundation. I grew up Catholic, but let's be honest, like, I wasn't convinced. I will say when I was in Bali, it gave me like mentors and people, frameworks and structures for reorganizing my whole internal world.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And I had a lot of support and friendship. It was like kind of like going from a family that had a lot of dysfunction to like recreating a family where we're all healing and becoming more aware of the things, how we operate, the subconscious aspects that drive our behavior, and really making more conscious choices. I remember sitting, having coffee with my mentor, Jonathan, and also having a male figure in my life for the first time that really cared about me. This is the thing people don't understand about mentorship, and also like what my husband and I do is so much of what we do is building a relationship with the student. Yeah. Because it's when the student feels like you actually care about them, the things that they become capable of, just because there's another person who really cares about you. It's like a battery pack, a jet pack outside your body. It's incredible.
I love it.
At that time, I had always had this dream. I wanted to act. I wanted to be an actress, but I'd always been too afraid to do it. And he was the one who was like, he had been a fixer. He had been a fixer in film and television in the UK and in the United States. So he's the guy who would go to like Romania with a suitcase of cash and like pay off whoever needed to get paid off so they could film and shoot and make certain things happen for the movie, for the commercial.
I love that.
Yeah. So he's like the codependent guy who would like, handle all the rock stars, like crazy addictions issues. So that's kind of how we ended up in the rooms. Is like, if you know anything about Hollywood, it's like super dysfunctional. So,
100%. I mean, because like everyone there has an external locus of identity, right? And so like you're trying to, deal with people who are performative, right? And then, you're at the same time expendable and then constantly subject to totally like weirdly subjective judgment. But like it's funny because like I think having some kind of background in media and acting like that probably gives you a pretty big advantage in this field, because at least you understand what it's like to be judged by a bunch of strangers who really like
10 times a week.
and you're a dime a dozen to them, right?
Yeah.
You know, which is like the exact same thing that I think kids applying to college are experiencing for the first time in their life, right? I like to explain this to students because people get really, I think, a lot of anxiety about the admissions process, in part because they're experiencing a market outcome for the first time in their life, right? Because we're used to experiencing, like, I guess, more of a deterministic outcome, right? So if you're in school and you're studying for a test and you don't get an A, right? Well, that means you messed up, right? That's on you, right? Getting an A in high school doesn't really matter what the high school is. I'm going to anger some people when I say this. AP classes aren't hard. None of them are really that bad. If you're complaining about that, that's a you problem, right? It doesn't matter how much work your teacher is giving you. It's really not that bad. And so if you're not doing that well, it's because you're missing something, right? And so, you know, if you internalize that kind of attitude, that is the kind of thing that helps you succeed in school. And so we tell kids this their whole life. Okay, do this. You know, if you mess up, that's on you. If you're getting like even like a 90 as opposed to 100, it's because you missed something. And then you apply to college for the first time, and now you're being judged by a bunch of strangers, right? Most of whom will literally never even read your application. That part they don't like when I say either. I know. Did you see the post? This is like maybe from like 4-ish months ago, where like I told people like, hey, just so you know, I would say at least 80% of the colleges don't even read your essay at all when you apply, right? And everyone's like, what do you mean? They make us write college essays anyway. I'm like, they don't read it. They have a formula with SATs and GPA. So these people don't even know who you are. They don't even care. And then they, you know, give you a judgment anyway. And, you know, even for the cases where they do read it, we're talking about a committee where it's like maybe 2 people read it. And then you have like maybe 7 to 15 people voting on it, of whom none of them have seen this stuff, right? And then you get the judgment. And then people will receive that judgment through the frame of a grade, right? And they'll say, oh, well, you know, if I didn't get into Harvard, that's because I messed up. And in fact, like, you could get rejected by the vast majority of those schools, get into one, and you'd call the process a success. So it has nothing to do with that, actually. It's just you're experiencing a market outcome, and business owners get to see this all the time, right?
Like, and kids are so much more capable than anyone gives them credit for. We've 100%. Like dumbed it. The educational system is dumbed down. The way we treat them is dumbed down.
Dude.
It's so ridiculous, like, to me.
Did you see that story from UC San Diego? I was posting about this a little while back.
I think it sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's like 1 out of 8 freshmen at UC San Diego are in remedial math.
Oh, yes. That was shocking, but not shocking.
No, I know, because we work in the space, so we see it more often, but like it's pathetic, right? Because when I say remedial math, like people get confused about that you think like, oh, remedial math means like I'm missing a couple concepts. Like, no. Remedial math means you didn't learn high school algebra, like the math you should have learned in 8th grade, but now you're at one of the top 20 public schools in America. I actually think UCSD is even higher ranked than that. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but like, obviously a school that easily could fill its class with people who know basic math, right? Like high school algebra is not the high bar. That's not, I'm sorry. Like it's not, and people who are like, but math is hard. Like I didn't do well in high school algebra. Great. But what are you doing at UC San Diego, right? There's a lot of schools out there. And by the way, and I say this because I'm sympathetic to people who need extra time with this stuff too. I mean, like for what it's worth, like my mom was a teacher and she's a professor actually at a community college. And I worked with hundreds of her students throughout the whole time I was in high school too, and I love those people and I have respect for them. But people have non-traditional paths, and there are places in the system to go get it together and then apply as a transfer when you have your basics down, which is fine.
God, I love the transfer. It's so much easier to transfer in than it is to go freshman year.
Isn't that nuts?
I wish people would get over the whole like going from high school to college into the top school and just go as a transfer.
Right.
There are incredible adjunct professors from the top colleges, depending on where you're located
100%.
at the community college.
100%.
Just go there and but you have to do something epic.
Yes.
Do something freaking epic there.
Yep.
And then transfer in, and you will be like, I had a student get into USC as a transfer. I helped her with her application, and I was like, how did that happen? Like,
it's crazy. Like I have like one of my favorite transfer cases ever. If you're listening, Melody, hi. I was working with her maybe 2-ish years ago. So she had wanted to start college stuff at 18, but had some trouble at home. Ended up homeless actually for a little bit. Was working as a massage therapist for about 5 years, and then put herself through community college at night. Right. And so she went to this community college in Alabama, came to me at, about about a year before she was due to graduate there, and she ended up actually finishing 3 separate associate's degrees through there, right? If you can believe it. And really brilliant girl, did science research, I think at University of Alabama, incredible. And I tell her this story because people think that like non-traditional students sometimes will have trouble with this process. She was 27 when we were going through this process. Incredible person, one of the best people I had a chance to work with, got rejected by every single Ivy League school, but now she's at Stanford, right? And it's like, she's about to graduate Stanford neuroscience. And I get chills when I think about it, because like she's about to go to medical school and just be a beast, right? And what would have happened if someone told her, oh, no, it's just like one path and you're done, right? And so like, I tell people this all the time, that like you have these other options, and we shouldn't be demeaning those options. What we should be doing is holding a high standard so that the degree means something for the people who are actually there. And if you can get them out of high school and you prepare it appropriately, great, that's fine. Good for you, man. But like for everybody else, there's still a path for you, and that's fine. We don't need to lower the bar for everyone just to, accommodate people who really should have taken longer to figure it out.
They aren't ready for those environments. It's like families come to me and they want like the shortcut for it, or they want like the easy answer, or they want like the tricks of the trade. I'm like, there is no easy way to do hard things. And the crazy thing is like, okay, so what if there was an easy way to do this, or a trick, or like something where you could like skate right under the line? Like, how do you think your child would fare surrounded by these high performers in this environment?
100%.
Like, they would drown there.
So fast.
So fast.
So fast. That's why the dropout rates have been going up.
Because of everything that happened with COVID and yeah.
Oh no. I mean, like, you know this already probably, but like if you look at the stats, like from like pre-COVID to post-COVID, historically, Ivy League schools don't have dropout rates. That like wasn't a thing. Like what do you mean? Like if you get into Harvard, you're pretty much going to graduate, because like the standard on the admission side, like that was the value of the degree. This is the part I think people miss a lot of the time. They think, oh, okay, I'm going to go to Yale, let's say, or MIT, and the instruction there is going to be so intense that like it's going to change you, make you a different person. Not really. No, like it's maybe like 10% harder than like doing it at anywhere else. That's about it. Right. Everything at the end of the day, like if you're doing, and I got to experience this because I worked in physics for like the longest time. So I did a physics degree. And when I was in college, I used to teach and tutor people at Harvard and MIT. Right. Because I worked at Brookhaven National Lab, and, I had a bit of reputation with that. And so I used to do that a lot. And so I got to be exposed to the people at those schools who are pretty smart. They're not that much different from everybody else, though. Like if you're like a reasonably high performer at like a good physics program anywhere, you could do the classes at Harvard and MIT. I guess it is rocket science, but it's not like that far aside from rocket science. Like it's not like an unusual rocket science. It's the same rocket science everywhere, right? All this is to say, like, those schools used to hold such a high standard in admissions. That was the value when you graduated, because there was a discriminatory process that would separate you out. And so like if you're an employer, you would say to yourself, oh, well, it's illegal post like 1970 or something, that they made IQ tests illegal for employment, right? Oh, you didn't know
I
this?
didn't know that.
Yeah. So the Supreme Court had this ruling. This was, by the way, the same time that colleges started going insane, right? Because they made competency and IQ tests illegal for employment. You were not allowed to do that, I think, in any context, let alone if you take any federal contracts and stuff. Like it was a violation of the Civil Rights Act, or so they claimed. I think it's ridiculous, right? But they did that, and then immediately, literally, I'm not even joking, immediately afterwards, the acceptance rate at top colleges started shooting down, right? Because what happened was employers started taking the colleges as a proxy for intelligence, right? Yeah. So they say, oh, okay, well, we can't give you an IQ test. We have no other way of knowing if you're competent necessarily.
We need a filtering mechanism.
Right. So we're going to say, okay, well, we're just going to only hire from Harvard now. Right. And then, aside from the fact that it blocks out everybody else, which sucks, right? Then what happens is now they have every incentive to just, keep reducing the acceptance rate, because then the value of the degree goes higher. And then, it turns out that today we've got to the point where the entire value of going to one of these colleges is just in the admissions process. And if you don't believe me, here's the crazy part too. MIT has all their courses online.
I didn't know they had all of them, but I know that there's a lot of courses you can access online.
Almost all of them. Almost all of them. MIT OpenCourseWare. So I learned most of the physics that I know today from watching Walter Lewin 8.01, 8.02, and through the rest of the physics track through MIT.
Wow, that is awesome, by the way.
On YouTube when I was in high school.
God, I wish. This is the thing that blows my mind is the reliance on learning in the classroom over learning outside of school. Do you know what I'm saying? That we have so much access now to information that there is no excuse for you not to be learning outside the classroom.
Yeah.
And also, like, we had a student who wanted to pursue marketing, and she didn't have any experience as marketing. She didn't know anything. She thought marketing was design. I was like, no, marketing is lead conversions.
Right.
And we did an independent study with her, and she ended up going really deep into a few different mentors. She took a marketing class at her school, and she's like, yeah, the whole class was like the first page of the first book I read. You know what I'm saying? The content is spread out, but it's like there's not a ton of substance or enough substance there.
There's nothing there. Yeah. Right. I think giving them all the information hurt them in the end, to be honest with you. Because I think what happened was, like, I think people decided that, oh, okay, I'll just do it tomorrow, or I'll just figure it out a different way, or, oh, someone else is going to do that. And then they just didn't bother to go try to learn it in real life. It's gotten nuts. I want to go back to your story. So, okay, you were in Bali, right? Transformed your life, different person after that, decided you want to go into acting. Did you?
It's such a classic. It's almost cliche.
I mean,
but yes, my mentor said to me, he's like, Kate, you want to go act?
Yeah.
Just do it. Like Nike, just do it.
Just do it.
And that was like his, and it gave me the courage to I went to theater school in Manhattan. And then I got agents out in California, and I had like a really rich commercial career out there for a decade. And that was where I got into college coaching, because I was like, well, an actor always needs another job.
Right.
So, but tutoring paid like crap.
Right.
So I had a entrepreneurial boyfriend at the time who was like, what about college essay coaching or like this, like helping students develop their applications? And I was like, find a mentor who's doing it at like a great level. I did a search online, cold emailed a ton of people. One guy, Ethan Sawyer, the college essay guy, was like, come down to my workshop in Van Nuys. He was just starting his business. I was one of his first coaches.
That's awesome.
And he trained me. Then I had mentors at Stanford in admissions, and I just kind of fell into this. But it's like you said before, college coach was not exactly my life ambition. No,
it pretty much never is. Like, it's a very niche field to fall into. And I think it's also very brutal because, I think so many people try it because they think they're going to be good at it. And the unfortunate reality is that it's like a very rare talent. Really, really
it's
rare.
It's a weird art and science combo. Yeah. And you kind of have to have an instinct for it as well. That was like what my mentor told me. She's like, yeah, you've got an instinct for it. And then you just develop that over time. But you have to, like, I have a lot of advisors on my staff.
Yeah.
There is so much to know in admissions. One person cannot know all of it.
Right.
Like, there are certain things that, like one of my advisors, she worked at a private school as college counselor in LA.
Right.
And she knows things that can only be known after 30 years of doing this, just the patterns of certain schools and like certain little details that you need to know that you can only gain through 30 years of experience. Yeah.
And that I think is funny because, like, I'll go into like my story with this a little bit because, like, I feel like that's actually changing now. And my path was very different from yours because I didn't really actually have a mentor in this field. I'm self-taught in general. I had mentors in related fields, though. I started from a relatively like lower middle income background. My parents both did their education in Greece. They had no idea how to help me get into college. But I was really lucky. When I was 14, I was discovered by a physicist at Brookhaven National Lab. So he happened to be visiting our high school, and we had some family connections that, at least like introduced me to the guy. And then I was talking to him afterwards, and he gave me a bunch of physics and math problems to do. And like, it kind of felt out like the scene out of Good Will Hunting. You know what I mean? Right? Yeah. Like, I guess I did really well because then, he invited me to come work with him. And so while I was in high school, I got to go to Brookhaven. It just so happened that, I was on Long Island, so it was like right next door. So you just take the train out there actually all the time. Wow. And it's funny, they have a little shuttle bus that picks you up from the train station, takes you to the lab, because I was too young to drive. I couldn't even like get there on my own. But I got to work there, and I was doing physics research from when I was super young. I was working on
like 15?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was working on simulations for the particle accelerator there.
Whoa.
And so I got to be exposed to like really crazy concepts, like, in physics and quantum mechanics, all this other stuff. And yeah, I learned a lot of really cool skills with that.
So you literally had a mentor.
I did no, I had mentors in other fields, like not for colleges, but for the other stuff, I had lots of mentors. Thank God. Yeah. Okay. I needed that. No, he was amazing. He actually, it's funny. So his name is Dr. Yanis Stamatakis. So he ended up being the director of KAIST, which is like the Korean MIT. Actually, so they recruited him like right around when I graduated from high school, which was like, a really weird coincidence, but it's really funny actually. And so we're still in touch. He's a great guy. Once it came time for me to apply to college, right, that was a kind of bizarre experience for me because like I did not have a clue what on earth I was going to do, right? But I was surrounded by the people in this lab that all were, they had gone to great schools. Like, so a lot of the people who were working in the lab with me, they were either students at these colleges or they had graduated from these colleges. In fact, if you go to Brookhaven, actually, if you go to they have like a main hall, all the Ivy League flags are actually like spanned out across the hall. So they have like flags from all the colleges that have like really, really strong physics programs. So I kind of like knew what my college list was just from like the flags in the hall there.
That's absolutely genius.
At the time I wanted to be like a PhD in physics. And so I was just like, I was deep into it. I was like full like physics nerd. Like that's all I did with my life. And I even like skipped most of my senior year of high school. I had like some agreement with my principal that was like, I'm just not going to show up, but like I'll show up on Fridays to take all my tests. I just like took the tests and I just like spent my time at the lab.
Awesome. Really?
Yeah, dude, I hated going to school.
I did too.
It was horrible.
Yeah. But he probably, he knew how, intelligent you were clearly, and that you had, did he know that he was in you were in this lab? Working?
Yeah, no, he knew I was in the lab. I think he was just glad to be rid of me. Okay. To be honest, I don't want to give myself too much credit. Like my teachers in high school, God bless them, and I'm sorry, I was definitely not the easiest student to deal with, because I think at some point I realized that I had outpaced a lot of the stuff they were doing. And it's not like it is today, where, today it's a lot easier if you wanted to just learn stuff on your own and kind of like leave them alone. And you could just like do whatever you're going to do in school and just kind of do your own thing on the side. Mm-hmm. Back then, I was expecting a lot of that to come from my teachers, and my teachers had a different responsibility than I had. Mm. This is something like I have to deal with now because I work with a lot of exceptional students. So, we have to explain to them like, no, just so you understand, your teacher in school is not your tutor. Mm-mm. Right? They're there to like shepherd a class. Mm-hmm. And if they can help you too, that's great. But like that's, they have a different responsibility, and, it's a hard thing to do as it is, let alone to deal with you if you're like, top 1%, whatever. Like you don't want to just get on their bad side. And I got a lot of teachers' bad sides, because like I used to be like that kid would be like, oh yeah, that's wrong. Okay. like, oh, you missed something there. Like, sorry. Are you sure that's actually how that happened? Like historically, like, and like,
just constantly poking holes and challenging them.
Not much has changed.
I see some inconsistencies.
And so, as you can imagine,
we need you out here, Andreas.
Well, today, yeah, it's great, but like that personality was. Don't do that to your high school teachers.
Don't poke the bear. That's all. They're already like annoyed and overworked and frustrated, and
it wasn't their fault. I have a lot more sympathy for them today than I did back then.
Yeah, same.
But, long story short, I ended up applying to college. I was really lucky actually, because at the time, so I was part of this research group. We were working on the muon G-2 experiment, which was this like, long story short, they're making muons fly around really fast. A muon's like an electron's fat cousin. And so we got a bunch of like fat electrons to fly around a ring super fast.
Thanks for explaining physics to me in a way I can understand. I really appreciate it.
I got you. But like, it was just some complicated mess to try to replace particle accelerators. But long story short, I was working on that project and I did some cool stuff with it. And it so happened that the chair of the physics program at Cornell was also doing research on the same exact field, right? He was also working the muon G-2 experiment. So his name was Professor Jim Alexander, really great guy. And he thankfully agreed to meet with me, actually. And, we were talking about that stuff, and he wrote me this really beautiful letter of recommendation, sent it straight to the admissions offices, and helped me get into a bunch of colleges. So I got into a bunch of these schools, got into Cornell, and ultimately...
Cornell too.
You too? That's awesome. Yeah. Well, okay. How'd you end up at NYU then? Actually, I'm curious.
Because I only applied to 2 schools, NYU and Cornell.
What?
And my brother was going to Cornell at the time. But I wanted, again, I remember I always had that desire to be an actor.
Yeah.
And like a city. So the reason why I went to NYU is like I had some fantasy in my head of what it was going to be like.
That's awesome.
Going to college in a city when you're like 17, 18 is just...
It's a little overwhelming.
It's very, very overwhelming. And imagine being like totally broke on top. It's like you can access anything, but you're like peering through the glass on all of these things. Like... And it's lonely. It's hard.
Manhattan is the worst for that too, because everything there is like way magnified.
Oh yeah.
Like that's what I've noticed too. Like, because I grew up on Long Island, we would always like peer into the city, but like, you know, it was like kind of like a look, don't touch kind of thing. Back in 2004 or 5, right? Even back then, you know, fun night in the city is $500, right? Today it's like what, 2,000-3,000 like minimum to do anything interesting, and it's like it's like forget it. Like I think the first time I ever stayed at a hotel in Manhattan was like a year and a half ago.
Oh really?
Yeah, because like it took a point to get into like my career where like I actually could like go and like.
Isn't it so fun though?
It is. It's so nice. That's the best part.
It's so fun.
It's a very. That's what I'm saying. It's a very like black and white experience, right? Yeah. Like either you're going to be like living like trash in New York City, or you're living like amazing. It's the best. Like we went to the Baccarat. Actually took my wife. So I got legally married, but not religiously married.
I know, so it's weird. Yeah, I totally know.
Right. So like Sophia and I go back and forth between like saying like
call each other husband, wife, or do we say fiance?
I mostly say wife because, but like
because it's legal,
right? But
it's street legal.
It is, but like to me, like God matters more, and so I'm like. I don't know, right? But like, so we're in that situation. That's where I proposed, right? So I'm saying this partly. I'm not talking out of school because I posted this on my Instagram too. So like, we got it was like a weekend at the Baccarat, and you know, I hired a helicopter to like take us around the city.
Oh, I saw that picture.
So I surprised her actually. So Sophia's a photographer, and so she and I like to do photo shoots in different parts of the world. So we did like a photo shoot in Capri last summer, and before that we had done one in Tuscany, and so like we'll do these sometimes. We'll do like couple shoots because it's like a really cool art form for her. And so I told her, I'm like, hey, like let's do like a birthday trip in New York City, and I'm going to rent a helicopter, and we're gonna have a private ride, and we'll do like the whole shoot, make like a whole prop set. And she actually figured out that I was proposing, believe it or not. Well, no,
I can see it.
no, because that would have been normal for us otherwise, right?
Oh, okay.
No, because like we did extravagant stuff like that before. Like I'll get because it's all tax deductible now, right? Which is nice because you're on social media enough, right? As long as we make content with it, the IRS can't come after me. Sucks to suck. I was able to rent all this, and like that part actually flew under the radar. The reason she got me was actually because of a comment I made in bed like a month or so before I did this. Because have you seen that one viral video where like that girl's getting proposed to on a hike? She's like standing on this cliffside, and like no, okay. So
I think I remember.
I'll show you the video later. But like she's standing on this cliffside, and the guy's proposing, right? And I guess they have like one of their friends that's like filming from like 100 feet away or something like that, and like you can sort of like make out like the outline, like what's going on, but. She starts screaming. She's like, "I'm wearing sweatpants."
Oh yes, like, I do remember that.
Right? It's like that. So so like at some point, like Sophia's asking me, like, "Hey, like, what do you think I should wear in the helicopter?" I'm like, "Oh, don't wear sweatpants."
That gave it away.
It totally gave it away, right? But I was lucky. So our
I was wearing sweatpants when we got engaged.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The crazy thing about it is that there was like nobody there except a random photographer who was in the bush who got a photo of us. Like, that's weird. Right?
I love it.
But anyway, go on.
Okay. No, but so I was lucky because the photographer we hired was actually one of Sophia's colleagues. So Mariah, if you guys want to follow her on Instagram, I'll tag her with this. It's Mariah Buku. She's really, really talented. She shoots celebrity weddings all the time. She's crazy. So she graciously agreed to do the shoot, because she and Sophia are friends. They were texting on the side, right? So thank God for her, because she was talking mad shit about me, right? So like she was texting Sophia like, oh, do you really think he's the one, right? When do you think he's going to propose, right? Like, if he doesn't hire me when he proposes to you, like, I'm going to make him look fat and ugly in all the pictures, right? And, she totally convinced Sophia that it was like, it wasn't going to happen, that it was just like a regular photo shoot.
That's a good friend.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. Like she saved me. And so it was a total surprise. So like we ended up staying at the Baccarat, and like, I don't know if you ever get a chance, the Baccarat's like,
I don't think I've ever been there.
Oh, you got to.
Yeah.
You got to do night of the Baccarat. Yeah. Pick a date. And if you guys were trying to splurge for something, like pick like someone's birthday, like go to the Baccarat. It's sick. It was honestly like probably like one of my favorite hotel experiences ever. They have a house car that'll like take you around the city.
Oh, no way.
Oh yeah. No, but it's not just like any house car. It's this Mercedes. It's a Maybach. It's a Mercedes Maybach. Oh, wow. And so we were just riding around the city in a Maybach for like 3 days. And I was just like, oh my God, this feels great. Like it's a rare
Work hard, kids. It pays off.
Literally, right? Like I've never experienced that before in my life. Like, mind you, like I grew up on food stamps. Like, so like this is it's like it's a big like challenge.
I was my mom was a single mom.
Right. Yeah. Same. Yeah.
I was also like, there's just something about growing up without that gives you that energy to go get it.
I think part of it's like a little bit of having something to prove.
Yes.
It's that like, I noticed that in myself sometimes where like there's a piece.
I'll show you.
Kind of, yeah,
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a piece of me like I used to have this because like, it's funny. So like my wife grew up in the town right next to me. So I grew up in Deer Park on Long Island, which is like a more like a blue collar, like lower middle class town. Yeah. Reasonably good school district, but like nothing crazy. Like they're pretty good. Sorry if that doesn't make you sound too good, Deer Park. What's up? But like, anyway, but so anyway, but like, I gotta be thankful for them. I will say this because like they had a really good AP program, so they actually offered like way more classes than I thought. So like that helped me a lot. But the town right next door is Half Hall Hills, right, which is like a way like when I say like we're talking that the average household income is probably like quadruple between the two towns. Like, and it's a surprisingly like sharp divide because of Long Island. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I didn't grow up there, but I know it well, like a New Yorker.
Gotcha. Okay. So Long Island's like super segregated, literally like a straight gap. Like you go to one town, Long Island, and it's like people are struggling. And the next town over, it's just like giant houses and like driveways that'll stretch for a mile. And so like Sophia went to that high school. And so it's ironic and kind of funny because like when I was in high school, I used to always do all these like math and like science competitions, right? I used to get like the biggest kick out of like beating those kids. I used to be like, yeah, I want to beat the Hills kids, like no matter what it is.
Well, that would have been way too fun.
It's a great time.
Yeah.
It's a great time.
This is something that I want kids to understand is that if you have things that are disadvantages right now, you have no idea how much fun you're going to have overcoming those 100%. Disadvantages. You do not understand the level of fun that life becomes when you get to go from something kind of crappy to something absolutely amazing. Like, it's just totally worth the adventure and the journey.
100%.
And so just stop whining about it and like go do something about it.
And also those things become advantages in the admissions process too, which I think people don't talk about enough. Like I'll get like DMs all the time from students that are like, well, I don't go to this feeder school. How am I going to get into an Ivy?
That and I'm that talk, I can't, it's so defeatist and victimhood.
It's also like the opposite of the reality. Cause if you go to like some no-name high school in the middle of nowhere, you like that's an edge actually. That's actually like a significant edge.
Because you can maximize every single opportunity there and like really go for it.
But which is not nearly as hard to do as it would be at one of those feeder schools. Like I've had 4 or 5 clients now who went to Exeter, for example. Right. And if you're going to like Phillips Exeter,
the bar,
it's so high, right? Because unless you're building some massive project, getting like published science research, crazy high SAT scores, there's no room for failure. If you get even like 1B, you are toast by comparison, and that's not nearly the case at other places. Like, meanwhile, you get kids that are coming from like Podunk, whatever, like who cares, right? And those high schools, you can actually, if you're reasonably smart, you can be the top person at that school and then do some pretty good stuff.
Geographic advantage.
And then you get into one of these colleges, right? Yeah, and people don't think about that enough. Going all the way back. So, I knew I wanted to study physics. I knew I wanted to, do that. I ended up getting into Cornell, and I ended up getting off the wait list actually into Penn and Brown way back in the day. And that was great. It was a lot of great opportunities. that I could have had at those schools. I really wanted to go to study under Jim. Cornell was my top choice. I originally committed to go there.
Is he still at Cornell?
I don't know. I haven't spoken to him in a little bit. It's been a minute, but if he's there, thank you, Jim. But that would have been wonderful. However, the financial aid office just completely dropped the ball on me. It was just, they give me nothing. And it had to do with, I think, my family's, so my dad had started a sponge business at the time, and now he's in like Whole Foods in most of America, actually, which is pretty cool. So he's in like all kinds of Whole Foods. If you actually go to the cosmetics section in almost any Whole Foods, if you see sponges there, those are pretty much always my dad.
I'm going to go and I'm going to like record it. And I'm going to put it on social media.
Yeah,
that
it's
is
great.
So funny.
It's great. Yeah. So he white labels now for like a bunch of other brands too. He does some great stuff. If you go on Amazon, the top like 5 results are still my dad. And so that has worked out pretty well for him. And he has a warehouse in Long Island and he does all that stuff there. But like, when I was in high school, that company was kind of just starting. And so we had to list the business assets when we were applying. And, because they take those into account, even though our income was like super low, right? They looked at the business assets and they're like, oh, well, you can just like sell part of your company and pay for college, right? So you're fine. And I'm like, that doesn't make it. Can you actually though? Like it does. And like, honestly, I'm not sure if they've taken that into account.
Like tax on unrealized gains.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
Doesn't make any sense.
No, tax on unrealized gains is probably one of the most toxic things I've ever seen someone do.
Yeah.
Like, did you see the California billionaires tax that came out recently?
Yeah.
Like,
it's a terrible idea.
I can't think of a faster way to ruin that state.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to get like too much into politics.
I mean, they already kind of have, but like
that's all. California.
It's the cherry on top.
I would have loved to live in California. Like I visited, so I used to go to
state.
I used to go to Stanford all the time for debate tournaments when I was in college, and I loved it. And I was like, oh, okay, I want to go live here. And then I looked at the business environment, the tax environment. I'm just kind of like, oh, no,
not great. Florida's better.
It's much nicer. It's much nicer. I gotta say that. Yeah, I came down here later. That was actually because of COVID. New York was so messed up during COVID. It was so bad. Do you remember the vaccine passports?
Yes, I do. I do remember that.
I faked like 3 of those, right? I had to write those down because like, I just don't like governments telling me what to do.
100% not. I think the consensus is like, it was a terrible thing that happened and it should not have happened. I think like if you're paying attention to only left-wing news, you live in a totally different reality and I can't help you. But if you're listening to just the general consensus, if you read the New York Times, you'll know that
this is happened. It's in the New York Times too.
Terrible. Now. Yeah. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. I think, but it's interesting that we're still afraid to address it, or that feeling of like, oh God, because that was such a weird time of suppression it was the weirdest time of my lifetime. And 100%. That's saying a lot.
Right.
Like just, it felt like we were in some kind of like communistic suppression, what you're allowed to say, what you're not allowed to say, even just having a question about something.
That was impossible.
Denier is like, wait a second. Like, are we not allowed to ask questions anymore about anything?
We're still, people freak out like that all the time too. I get that, believe it or not. Like it's funny actually, because this carries over into college admissions. I don't know if you remember at the time, do you remember how much flack people would take if they ever said that test optional was a bad idea?
Oh, I totally remember. But this is the crazy thing is that that's still a holdover. I listen to admissions folks on social media and they're still like, no, don't get mad at me. But the reason why the students got into Wisconsin is because they submitted good test scores. Like, why are you afraid to say that? It is the truth.
Right. 100%.
Like, why are you still afraid to say this?
Oh, 100%.
It's bizarre.
It's crazy. And I remember like, because I was, especially at the time, I was like super active on TikTok and I had started getting like a pretty big following at the time. This is like back in 2023 that I really started blowing up there. I was one of maybe like 2 people in college admissions that I'm even aware of who ever said anything negative about test optional ever. And no one else was saying it at the time.
No, nobody was.
Nobody.
It's cool that you were.
No, they used to come after me. I got death threats. I'm not even kidding you. I got death threats multiple times a week just because I was telling people like, oh, hey, so your high school GPA is inflated, right? Like,
oh, you mean I'm ranked 109, but I have a 4.0?
Oh, dude, that was nuts. Okay, I saw that the other day, and like I had to make a post about it because I was like losing my mind about this. This actually happened very recently. This is like maybe like I want to say I saw this was from like a school board meeting. Someone recorded it and put it on Instagram, and there was this kid they were talking about this example of a student that she had a 3.93 GPA and was ranked 109 in her graduating class.
I mean, need we say any more?
No, I think we do, because people are like bad at math.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't happen naturally. Like that means your grades are fake. Actually, that's what that actually means. I mean, it means your teachers are giving you fake A's, and they're giving everybody fake A's. And if everybody has fake A's,
keep it all copacetic.
Yeah, of course, because then the parents won't complain at you. And well, I think the administrators are to blame.
Well, if
too.
you give a B or a C, you're ruining a child's life.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and like it's a fair concern. I really empathize with the whole situation. It's awkward and complicated,
right? Because you're the odd one out, and that's the problem. Because like I think there's like 3 or 4 levels at which like they're just incentivized to do this. Like there's their pay structure. Like have you seen some of the teacher incentives now? So
sure.
So teacher performance in a lot of states now is tied to the GPA of their students. So if you're a teacher and your class gets all A's, then you're considered a good teacher. If you're a teacher and your class gets B's and C's, well, it can't be that maybe the students just didn't earn A's. No, that means you're a bad teacher, actually. Which at the same time, like, you want to reward the teachers that are making a difference and improving their kids' grades. So maybe like a relative metric would have made more sense. Maybe like some standardized testing before and after the end of the year or something like that would have. I don't know. I'm not gonna make education policy, but like this sure as heck's not working, right? Because what's happening is then if you're a teacher, then you know that your review at the end of the year is going to be tanked because you graded your kids honestly. So we just told all the teachers in America, not only do you have permission to lie because there's no consequence for the reverse, right? But you're actively rewarded for not being honest about how your kids are doing in these classes. And who on earth is benefiting from that? Not the kids.
No. They're not getting an honest assessment. In fact, they're getting this skewed worldview of what their competencies are, what they're good at, and then they're ending up in the world without any preparation or any realistic understanding of like their strengths and weaknesses, and that's really dangerous.
It's scary.
And I feel bad for the kids in that situation because they don't know. The adults have totally failed kids in this situation.
It's so bad.
And I don't like you. I don't know what the answer is. It's one of the reasons why I created my program is because, oh my God, I'm getting all these kids at the end of the funnel. None of them can write a clear sentence. And I'm not talking about...
That's the crazy part.
I'm not talking about kids with business. I'm talking about potential candidates.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I'm like,
no. Kids.
How did you get through English, AP English?
And super smart kids, too. So I have, I had one of my clients, kid had a 1550 on his SAT. Okay. So brilliant kid, right? Obviously, like super smart kid. For the life of this kid, he cannot write a sentence. Like
I feel for him.
He could not put a paragraph together.
Writing is really hard.
It is really hard. And I want to give him credit for that. But and he learned over the time that he was working with us, right? And at the end, he got pretty good at it. But like I look back on it and I'm like, what were you doing the whole time you were in high school?
Well, think about it. They can't teach you how to write because actually teaching you how to write is incredibly time intensive and it is a one-on-one experience.
It is 100%.
So you maybe get like 1 to 2 to 3 drafts and how much work that is for the teacher to go through all of those and actually edit them properly.
Oh, it's almost
Editing
impossible.
One 650 word essay could take me an hour.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? To look
100%.
at the 4, like, am I editing idea? Am I editing structure? Am I editing insight? Am I editing language?
Right.
Where am I? First of all, where am I?
100%.
What's going on? And there's usually very little structure going on in these essays.
Right.
So it's like, it's literally like wading through like gobbledygook half the time.
And it doesn't even help you if you have a rubric too. Like, have you encountered this with the AP classes where the kids will take like, let's say like AP World History and they'll be getting low grades on their AP World diagnostics, not because they don't understand the history, because they can recite the history, verbatim, because they have no idea how to write their essays because their teachers literally never got them back their homeworks ever. Right. Like I had clients, one of my, I
totally believe that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. No, some of my clients will go to
my husband over here, he taught and wrote curriculum for IB and AP. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So you've heard this way too many times then. Yeah. But it's scary though with the teachers. Cause like I've had students that go to like, supposedly really good schools. Like I have one of my clients who's a Stuyvesant now. And like, even at schools like that, teachers will take weeks to give them back any kind of written assessment. It's nuts.
Because if they did any sooner, these teachers wouldn't have any life to live.
Right.
It's impossible what they're asked to do.
So I fixed it actually.
What'd you do?
So, I mean,
How?
well, so it's funny actually. So no, I actually solved this problem, believe it or not. So my company, created, this amazing platform called Wiz. So if you're prepping for the SAT or
We
AP
share that
exams
with our
now,
kids, too.
you do. I love that. No, I really appreciate you guys spreading that. But it's at wiz.study, WHIZ.study. You guys can go there. It's a free platform where you can prep for these exams. And then, we have a bunch of AI features we added. And one of the things that we did that we're going to start rolling out to schools really soon is we created, actually, to our knowledge, the world's first AI auto-graded AP exams, where you can go onto our site now, you can take a full, let's say, AP World or AP Lang exam, and it will, with surprisingly great accuracy, grade your exam according to the rubric, just like an actual AP grader would grade it, and it takes about 10 seconds.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, it's
That's
awesome.
really cool.
It's really cool. And so, like, if you have a teacher with like 100 students, I'm not even joking with you, you could go onto the site. We're going to be creating a B2B expansion of this really soon. So let's say you have 20 kids in the class, you would assign them all, let's say, a DBQ for AP World, and they would take it. It would go ahead and grade it in less than 5 minutes. So they would submit it, and it would just grade it automatically. Provide the feedback, and it'll actually rewrite their essay for them automatically and show them what a better version of the same essay would have looked like if they actually did the right things to get the points, and highlight really that part for them so you know what changes to make for next time.
This is really cool for kids who want to do APs outside of the normal.
100%.
That's awesome. From my experience, this is where I got started.
Okay, tell me
was
about that.
teaching essays.
Right.
And teaching writing craft and storytelling. Because, again, all the acting and all the experiences and all the Joseph Campbell-like journey that I went on, it's my life is kind of, it's like storytelling on storytelling on storytelling and then acting as well. So it really taught me a lot about how to structure stories, how to find the story in a 100%. Student. That was my superpower, is building rapport very quickly and then helping a student uncover that slice of life, that like, what is that one idea that we can build something from, scenes and insights from. So for me, like, we run free in-person essay workshops and application workshops, and we're going to be expanding it to like college research and profile building workshops in the coming year. So if you go to universitygurus.com/events, you will find those, like, if you're in the Northeast area. But we also have families that come up from Florida, from DC. They travel up and they just sync it with their college visits, and they come on a Sunday to one of our events. And what I found out is kids would come, especially at the end, they'd have a draft. They're like, "Can you read my essay?" And I was like, no, no, I need you to re-outline it. Here are the 3 structures. If you can't re-outline what you have, your essay is a complete mess.
100%.
So I'm not going to read a complete mess, because I literally, once I finish that complete mess, I won't even be able to think properly anymore.
100%.
Students think it's an extra step, but it's actually not. It's the step that will prevent you from so much pain further down the road, because they want to jump to writing. But the problem is like, then you have to do all this synthetic thinking, where now you have to pull apart long sentences from that you're already now attached to, versus jotting down ideas and being able to reorganize the skeleton into the best possible story. So that's what I teach is please, God, don't put full sentences down on a paper unless you know, like, the notes of the story.
And it helps you compress it too, right?
Yes.
It helps you compress it into like a few sentences, because that's the part that the admissions officers are going to take away anyway, right? Because when they read your essay on that end, they're going to be summarizing it. Most people on that committee will never read the essay. The only thing they hear is the summary from the one person. So really, this whole thing is just a game of telephone, right? Which is so nuts. True. And so we're just playing game of telephone, but like, your life's in the balance, right? So that's cute, I guess.
So crazy.
Right? So which is kind of bonkers when you kind of think about it, right?
5th grade level, write at a 5th grade level. It doesn't mean that it's a bad writing. Man. It's just the more clear, the more like simple, the more organized your thought process, the easier it's going to be absorbed and transmitted to another person.
You have no idea how many death threats I got for that one.
Really?
Oh my God. Dude, you should have seen.
For writing at a 5th grade level?
Oh my God. I want to give you a list of the top.
You need to all take classes in marketing copy, number 1.
No, I'll give you a list of the many things I've said on TikTok that have gotten me organized, by the way. So like, there are some, influencers in the space, I don't want to give them airtime, but like, who are deliberately will organize groups of their followers to like try to come after me.
No way.
Because I'll say like things that if you've ever worked in marketing are just like obvious to you.
Yes.
So I'll give you an example. Okay. At one point I told people that if you write a 649 word exact college essay, that's a red flag, right? Which, if you've edited
It's
college
weird.
essays, it is a red flag, right?
Yeah.
And the reason is not the word count, right? That's the dumb thing that people will assume. So if that's the part you had a problem with, that means that you're just low IQ, okay? The thing that's the actual problem with that is your editing style, right? Because you don't end up at a 649 word essay by accident, except for like rare cases, in which case I'm not talking about you, okay? But the cases I am talking about are when you would go word by word, right? And then you're cutting out just one word at a time just to meet that word count, which means you're not actually editing anything. And then your essay is probably trash, right? So like that should tell you that there's a real problem here, because you should never be editing word by word. You should be editing sentence by sentence or paragraph by paragraph and cutting out big ideas.
Yes.
And that's when you actually slim something down in a way that's reasonable. And the odds of that ending up at 649 is basically zero, right? It happens sometimes, I'm sure, but like not if you're doing it right. And so I put that on TikTok, and it ended up it went viral on TikTok, viral on Instagram, viral on YouTube. And then I had like organized mobs of people like coming after me and be like, he's a fearmonger. He said that 650 word college essays are bad. My essay was 650 and I got into Harvard. And it's like,
I'm not talking. You're trying to make a point.
Like they didn't even watch the video.
Yeah,
They didn't even watch the video.
No, you're trying to make a point that you shouldn't be editing by words. You should be editing by ideas.
Yes.
And that was the point. That's how you made
that was the point. That was the entire point. That was the whole reason I did this. And like right. And like, this is like the problem I run into nonstop. You probably can encounter this too on social media. Like you'll say something that's like a relatively complex idea, and then people will like reduce it to the dumbest possible argument of the thing that you said.
Often.
Right. Yeah. All the time. Right. So for example, like this happened to me, I think 2 days ago. Do you see the thing with Yale? Actually, this is a fun current event that you like this. So like Yale made it so that they're not going to be charging tuition if your family makes under $200,000 a year, right? And like most people's reaction to that was like, "Oh, like Yale's so great; they're doing a wonderful thing."
They're destroying the middle class.
Literally, right? See, you pick up on that, right? Because you work in this field, right? And you're like, well, because you want to think like a step further. It's like, okay, so Yale says it's going to be free.
Now the middle class can't get ahead because
100%.
Paying that's going to put them into debt for years and years.
Oh yeah, and the financial aid is a fixed number, right? This is the part that I think people aren't getting. It's like, okay, so we said, okay, it's free for families making under 200K. That's a lot of families. So who's applying to Yale now then? So what that's going to do is it's going to cause, and this, by the way, happened during COVID too, because they changed a lot of the rules, but it's going to increase drastically the number of people who are applying from those families because they just heard, oh, it's free for me, right? And so then the odds of those kids getting in just went way down, right? And then you go a level above that, and then you ask yourself, well, wait a second, if they're giving those kids full rides, did the cost of running those degrees to Yale change? No. Okay, so what that means is then that the spend per student that Yale has to pay went up, right? Because they're spending more money on those kids that they accept because they know every time they accept one of those kids, it is a bigger investment for them than if they accepted one of the other kids. So Yale created on their own an incentive structure that will motivate Yale admissions to admit fewer kids from low-income backgrounds. Right?
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's nuts. And then on top of that, then you look at like, the middle class, right? Which I don't even let an economist tell you like who's actually middle class.
I don't know who like pitched that idea.
Oh, I'll tell you how. I'll get to that in a minute because I'm pretty sure I know what actually happened here.
Oh, cool.
Right?
We get like gossip.
Yeah. No. So like, what happens is like if you go even like above that a little bit, right? Then they used to offer partial financial aid. Their budget for that's going to go way down, which means that like if you're in that range of like, let's say your household income is like $200,000 to $400,000 a year, which by the way, if you're in California or the Northeast, is normal, right? Like if you're living in the Midwest or the South, that sounds like a shocking number to you. I promise you, if you're living in any major city in America, that is not like they're not living large with that income. That's like paycheck to paycheck for a lot of people, and
especially with the housing costs and lifestyle costs and school costs, all of it.
It's nuts. It's nuts, and like you're living in an environment where like I mean, even in Florida,
it's just enough to feel rich, but not be rich at all.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit. No, if your household income is like what, like $300,000 a year, right? that used to be incredible. Like pre-COVID, even that used to be like awesome. I'm pretty sure like that's like the same-ish lifestyle that somebody used to live at like 100, right? Inflation's gotten so out of control. I don't want to get into that. But the more interesting thing is just that like they used to get partial aid, right? Which is necessary because if, Yale still costs almost $100,000 a year. Like that's their sticker price. So if you don't get partial aid and your family's making like what, 300,000, well, you're not paying $100,000 a year to Yale. That's not possible. Like max maybe 10% of your household income you could put into that. Like if you're frugal, right? Maybe you could do that, and they're not doing that. So, again, that means then that they're going to get cut out too. And so I made a post explaining this, and I'm like, okay, like what this means, guys, just so you understand, is that because financial aid budgets are fixed, right? That means, and by the way, Yale's going through a budget crisis, like all the colleges are this year, right? They all have massive budget shortfalls. Their endowment, by the way, the endowment at Yale is fake?
No.
Oh, you didn't hear about this?
No.
Okay, so they claim in public that they have a $41 whatever billion endowment. When do you think that valuation was set?
No idea.
It was set in 2021 when the interest rates were zero. Right, so the finance bros listening to this already know what I mean by this, right? You probably already picked this up if you've ever done business valuations. But like when interest rates are zero, right, you can value a business way higher, right? So when you have interest rates that are higher, then the value of an asset, especially a business asset, it gets cut not just like a little bit, it can get cut in half. The current valuation of Yale's assets is less than half of what they're publicly saying, and so is the case for every other Ivy League school. And their endowments are paying out less as a consequence too, right?
When you're talking about like it's fake, like their endowments are fake.
Oh, they're just lying in public.
Yeah.
Like straight up, they're like, oh, we have so much money. Like, no, you don't actually. You have less than half the money that you said you have. And even the amount you did, like people like look at this, like you probably encountered this too. People are like, oh, okay, they have a $30 billion endowment. They must be flush, right? Like that's not what an endowment is. An endowment is an investment fund, which means that you're getting of that, 30 billion or whatever, maybe 2 to 3% per year if you're lucky. If you're lucky, you're getting 2 to 3% per year paid out to you from that, which is not enough because these colleges, Harvard's budget is like over $6 billion. The same for a lot of these colleges. These are big budgets.
Huge.
Right.
Yeah. So
like, again, people aren't used to thinking in those numbers. Like those sound like, astronomical figures, 99% of humans. Fair enough. Right. But like that's.
Well, when you're running a business like that, it's not.
It's not. They're actually broke. Right. Yeah. These colleges are broke. Okay. Full circle. Okay. So I made a video explaining this, right? And the only comment I got this comment, I'm not joking with you, like over 1,000 times, okay, was, you said $200,000 is middle class? And I'm just like that's what you got out of this. That's what you got out of this. Like I just made this whole video explaining this really interesting topic, and the thing you want to comment about is which level of poor you are. It's like, are you kidding me? I'm just like,
I think people don't have a realistic idea of what it takes to live on this planet.
No.
Of the cost. Like, I think we run into this with our business, like what it costs to, like what we have to do in terms of like, we have to, operate the business off of earned income.
Oh, 100%.
Right. And, if you have a $2 million business or a $10 million business, it's a very different, you're not, just to run the business, just your marketing costs are going to be costing you $50,000 to $100,000 a month.
100%.
And then if you're hiring A players, there's so much I've learned from running a business that I had no clue about.
Oh yeah.
And it's been eye-opening. This is what's made me so ambitious, because it's like, oh, if you have like some money, you really have none.
It's crazy. And the other people who like flaunt themselves, like, I don't know if you saw. I talked about this earlier today, right? The Forbes 30 under 30 came out like a little while back, and
you're here to expose it. I love it.
God. Oh my God, that was.
I didn't know that you had to pay.
Well, you do, right? This is going to come as a shock to like a lot of people, probably watching this, but like, Forbes is paid media. Like, you know this, I know this, because if you own a business, they pitch you on it, right? They'll have PR consultants who will come to you and they'll be like, oh, like we can get you an article in Forbes. It's only like $10,000, right? And I get those a dozen times a week, and it's really funny because like you'll have like some admissions consultants that will go out of their way to pay for those because they're not doing social media. Like for example, I think like Christopher Rim does this a lot with
he's contributing. He contributes like every week.
Yeah, which basically means he's contributing a lot to their bank accounts. Yeah. So like he's paying them, and then he gets the authorship, and they just go and they do that. I personally refuse. Like, I'm just not into that because like I'm doing well enough on my own social media. So like, why should I pay you?
Organic social media content is unbelievable. I had no idea.
It's nice.
It is. My mentor said when we were going, they're like, just wait till they're like, keep like pumping away on marketing.
Yep.
Wait till you hit the marketing vein.
Yep.
And once we hit that vein, we exploded. We went from, I think we grew like 3 times.
Yeah.
We didn't double, we tripled.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Right. It makes a massive difference. And like, I've been doing that for years at this point. And so like, I'll just post interesting stuff. And like, I take it from a service mindset. And this is something that like people, I think, notice a lot with my social media when I'm talking about college admissions. Because the nice thing about my program is that I only work with 50 clients. Yeah. That's it. Right. So I'm not actually trying to sell everybody. I don't even care. Like, oh, I said something that bothered you? Cool. All right, that's fine, right? I don't mind, because the clients that hired me because they appreciated the fact that I was just out there to help people. But I'll just go say what I think in public because I think it's useful. And I have a kind of a rule where I try to do, like, I try to say something that's either like, I wanted to like track things I say along the dimension of being like useful, kind, and true. Yeah. Right. And I want to do at least 2 for 3 if I can, and, that means sometimes that I will say things that are true and useful and they're not always kind, right? Yeah. Like I'll call out the clowns, right? Yeah. Or I'll say things that, could be like, kind and true and so on and so forth. And so I'll try to like,
stir things up, and you have to for traction.
Right.
And you're one of the few people who are doing it. It's a huge advantage to you. You'd be an idiot not to maximize or capitalize on that. It's a very smart business decision.
It's one of the things I called out with you too, by the way. I mean, I may have posted about this a little while back.
I'm really honored that you would say that, by the way, because I'm typically not a stirrer of shit. I think
you've stirred some stuff, man.
I know.
I know what you're talking about.
Because I'm Italian and I can't help it. And also because I think after a while, when you're in this business long enough, and like you said, you get so many people, and like majority of them I can't help.
Right.
It's like, it's heartbreaking.
Right.
Because there's so much cluelessness out there.
Oh, yeah.
And it like boggles my mind.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I can't help you in junior year I can't help you put the applications in, and like we can do some work over the junior year, but the cake is baked.
Yeah.
9th and 10th grade matter.
Oh, yeah.
And also academics, like, where are you academically? Like,
100%.
How are you going to get into a Duke with a 3.3? You're not.
No,
that's not happening.
Yeah. No, and like honestly, like
they're not going to see something special in your application. That's not a real thing.
They're really not. And like honestly, I feel like that's something I deal with a lot. I know you do too. I actually got a DM last night actually from this parent that it was funny. She was messaging me about like her observations of watching content about college admissions on Instagram and TikTok, and her observation was that like this is all so negative, right? And it's hard for her to watch it because people are being negative all the time, right? And they are being negative. What I was explaining to her is that on the receiving end as a creator, I'm just dealing with delusion nonstop, right? And it's so hard because like I think the ball is being dropped by the high school guidance counselors. I have to, they're not going to like it when I say this, but like I have to be honest with them. Like if they did a better job of explaining to people early on, like what these schools actually look for.
But they don't actually do it until spring of junior year.
Nope. They don't even bother. They don't bother. They wait till right at the end.
It's not even a conversation until spring of junior year.
Yeah, no, because they want kids to be kids. Yeah.
So it's like,
which is also like nuts to me because like, looking back on it and maybe,
and it's not their fault because they're dealing with like 200 to 1 or more, it's like,
it's a little bit their fault. Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to be harsher on this. I'm going to be honest with you. Like it's a little bit their fault because it used to be, because you could totally hire one of us, or now you don't have to hire anybody. Like for God's sake, just like send them a link to my Instagram, and like we have the whole thing laid out year by year. It's not that hard. Like, and I have amazing guidance counselors, by the way, and I want to give credit to the good ones here that will in fact send good material to their kids and be like, hey, you should be looking at this stuff, and they're reposting me on their stories nonstop, for the kids to watch, and I'm grateful for that because those people are awesome, and I know for a fact their students will benefit long term from having a little bit of a wake up call while there's still time to do something about it.
Yeah.
Right. But there's a lot of them that are asleep at the wheel because they just don't want to deal with it. I'll tell you the most common story why a parent will come hire me. It's because they figure out that the counselor in their school is paid by the school, which, it sounds like a small thing, right? But who's your customer, right? The counselor in school gets paid by the school. If you don't get into college, do they care? Are they going to get a bump in their salary if you do get in? No. Okay. Are they going to get a decrease if you don't get in? No. So what incentive do they have exactly to help you in any significant way? The goodness of their heart? That doesn't work for a lot of people. And so they hire someone on the outside to fill that void. And I think that the counselors, because they have that incentive structure, are just like, some of them are going to be great, but 80% of them are just going to drop the ball.
Yeah. Well, I think college coaches in the free market are dropping the ball.
Yes.
Nonstop. I mean, that's why you said I'm embarrassed to call myself a college coach. Like the industry is a bit of a racket. First of all, so what we do is not just college coaching. It's performance coaching.
Yes.
It's performance coaching.
Yes.
Like we need to help you become a high performance individual, human being.
100%.
And that's why we have a very structured curriculum where we take you through, first of all, my 3 pillars, which are community impact, academic foundations and stacks of evidence, and then brand networking, story, and mentorship, right? So we have to go through, that's why it's a 6-month onboarding process with
100%.
So we need to figure out, first of all, like, do we have the academic foundations? Do we need to fill some gaps? We usually do.
Almost always.
Almost always.
Yes.
Because you need a 3.8, like baseline.
Minimum.
A minimum. Yeah. Yep. Before we can even get into the cool stuff. It's like, what project should my kid do? It's like, wait a second. Slow down. They're not even there yet.
Dude, like, do you get the comments from the people who are like, oh, well, listen, my kid has like a 3.4, but her extracurriculars are amazing. She just got her Girl Scout Gold Award. I think she's going to get into Duke. And I'm just like,
oh, I got trashed for calling out Eagle Scout.
that was the one? I got, so I
work with an Eagle Scout like every year.
No, you know what's even worse than the Eagle Scout people? The marching band people. The marching band people are worse than the Eagle Scout people. I'm telling you, the marching band nerds.
But they have spirit.
They got some kind of spirit in them. Okay, that's for sure. No, because I was, again, and before I say this, I want to just preface this because they're going to come after me again for this. Like, it's not like I have something against marching band people.
No, we don't have anything against any of these things. We think it's great. If you love it, enjoy it, go for it. But it's not going to get you into
one of these schools. No, it's a super, super hard thing to do, being part of marching band. I'm not against being part of marching band. However, okay, like, how many other people are part of marching band? Yeah. It's not just you, is it? Right? Like it's like 100 other people just from your high school, right? And then now multiply that by all the other high schools. And then now all of a sudden, it's not really like, it's not even like a special thing. This is just like, if you look at it from the admissions officer's perspective, like they're seeing like 1 in 10-ish, maybe less, maybe more actually, applications that have some kind of marching band or related thing on it. So it's like, okay, is that really going to help you stand out as much as you think it is? Like, are you really, is it really worth devoting like 2 to 3 hours a day, every single day, most of the year to this?
What are your goals?
Do you have goals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're coming back for that one. That's okay. I earned that one.
Well, I think this is the thing. We're talking about where the educational system is shepherding you through a class.
Yes.
It's shepherding you through a system.
Yep.
It is not designed to teach you how to become high performance,
Nope.
to reach your goals, to offer you personalized education,
Nope.
to help you identify what makes you tick, what your talents and interests are, what your strengths are,
Nope.
where you need to be focusing your attention. Like, it's literally...
It's a factory.
It's a factory.
With bells, by the way, that let you know when your shift is over.
If you go to a prep school, boarding school, private school, they're all the same. Like if if I had the option, when I do have the option, when I have children going through this, I would put them in a great public school and I would put them into my program.
Yeah.
Because there's just no comparison to having one person there who is rooting for you, giving you strategy, building out the structure you need. Because I think we see the opposite. People say, oh my God, why are you trying to make them make choices about their future? They're only 15. And it's like, no, we're helping them commit fully to one thing so they can actually become competent and have a genuine interest and knowledge base on something.
And then they can switch, by the way.
And then they can, yes, that's exactly my point.
Which is
you'll
fine.
have the skills to be like, I actually don't want to do this. I want to do this.
Which is fine.
Where do I start? Okay, I need to find a mentor. I need to email. I need to test out the waters. Like you now have a framework for shifting.
100%.
And most kids have no idea where to start. They just end up like.
And for that, to be honest, I have to go after the parents for a sec, because people are too soft on them a little bit. And I'm going to say this, and I want to be, I think part of the reason too why I really kind of liked our interlude before, where I was talking about like the hotels in New York City and stuff, is because something that I don't think gets said often enough is that it's actually really cool to be an adult. Right.
It is really cool.
And I'm going to be honest with you. If your life goal is, oh, I really wish I was a kid again, right? Well, that means you're a loser. I'm just being honest. Okay. If you look back at your childhood and you're like, oh, I really wish I was a kid again. Okay. And I'm going to be harsh. I'm going to say this, but it's true. Okay. That means your life sucks. Right. That's what that actually means. Right. And
I don't. Sad, actually.
Right. And I don't ever want a kid, right, that I'm working with, who I'm helping grow as a person, to say, yeah, I aspire to have a sucky life. Right. I aspire to have a life that would make me want to go back to my childhood. Right. Like, what does that even mean? I think
it's a spiritual obligation to be a success, actually.
Yes.
I know that sounds bizarre, but God put you on, it's like a 1 in 4 trillion shot that you exist in your particular configuration here and now on Earth.
Right.
Why? That's your job to figure it out.
100%.
So go figure it out.
And it's an act of faith, right? It's an act of faith in your future.
And success is going to look like different things to different people as a caveat, of course.
100%.
But
being an adult should be freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Your life, you shouldn't be aspiring to a mediocre life. You should be aspiring to something spectacular.
And this is where you and I are totally in alignment.
Right.
It's like we're both trying to accomplish that same end.
Right.
Which is to help kids achieve their greatness.
100%. Yeah. And that's the thing that makes it all worth it. Right. To strive for that spectacular thing so that you can tell a kid, no, actually, I don't want you to be a kid. Being a kid sucks in every possible way.
You have no agency or autonomy. You
have no money. You don't do anything fun.
Yeah.
You sit around with a bunch of your friends who are mostly idiots.
Other people dictate your schedule.
You don't get to do any cool projects. What are you doing exactly? There's again, and this is something that I think that like more competent kids figure out sooner, and then a lot of them end up depressed, right? Because we infantilize them and we put them into a college system that's basically some glorified Disneyland, and they're going to go sit there and be on that whatever conveyor belt track for a longer period of time, and then that gets even worse because you are then expected to go into an employment schema, which then also doesn't reward you, and so you end up on this like ridiculous thing where you're on like, I don't know, say you're some consultant living paycheck to paycheck in New York City, and then you're watching the people go by who dared to step out of that mold, and you wish you were one of them, and then you're bitter, and then you come into my comment section and you say, oh, whatever, okay, and then I call you a clown in my stories, I found the clown origin track, by the way. This is
well, I think this is why I like talking about my story, because I did not fit into a typical mold.
No, of course not.
I really didn't. And I was never going to. My mom knew it.
Right.
But I kept taking risks. And those risks took me further and further into unknown territory.
Right.
And it was scary.
Yeah.
And I felt aimless and confused for numbers of years. But I kept trying stuff.
Yes.
I never stopped experimenting. We talked before we got on here about all the failed businesses we've had, all the failed ideas.
Yeah, so, dozens of them.
Guys,
it's a graveyard.
Before Andreas and I built multi-million-dollar businesses, we had really shitty, terrible, broke ideas going on all the time.
And broke mindsets too, right?
Yes.
Which was the craziest part. I mean, that was the part that like, blew my mind too, like the degree to which I had to change the way that I approach my time, my day, my relationships. All of that had to first come into alignment, and most of all, my relationship with God, and that
I love that you talked about that, by the way.
It's the most important part of my life. Yeah. It's not even close. And, I'm a, devout Greek Orthodox Christian. Mm-hmm. And, and one of the things that honestly, like, it's funny you mention that, because like I get this comment a lot too, where people are often afraid to talk about their faith, especially in college applications, because they are directly afraid that admissions officers are going to be biased against them, which
Bingo.
they are. Which also is pathetic, right?
Sad.
That an admissions officer, if you are an admissions officer listening to this, I just want you to know that if you have anything against someone's faith, I have contempt for you. But like, that's a whole separate thing. But like, faith is a beautiful thing.
Well, it's so interesting, because like, then you have to advise them how to talk about their faith in a way that's palatable.
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, in a lot of ways, it can't be. Right. Faith is something that, changes every piece of you if it's real. Right.
It's transcendent.
And it is. And so, I tell people this too. And it's one of the things I even like, a bunch of my students, ironically, from working with me and after working with me, have actually returned to the faith. It's funny. One of my students, he's at Stanford now. He was recently baptized an Orthodox Christian. And I'm so proud of him, because of that, as I would be, just to be clear here, respecting people from all kinds of faiths too, but like, I want people to find a version of that is honest to them, right? That, will allow you to take that risk and say, God's on my side, and let me put myself forward, because you're not going to do it otherwise, right? There's just no reason to do it. So, that's always the start of this stuff, right? And then it gives you the chance to explore, which then gives you the chance to, learn new skills and talents, and you circumambulate.
My relationship to God was the beginning of this whole 20-year journey.
Yeah. It
was developing a relationship with a power greater than myself.
Absolutely.
And it started off really small. For me, I was a surfer in Bali. It started off with a very logical, I believe in a power greater than myself, just like a flower has the power to regrow. Mm-hmm. Just like the ocean's power is greater than myself. I started off really small and building into something. So anything I could practice putting my faith into,
right,
a little bit at a time, that felt comfortable for me.
That's awesome.
It's really cool. Yeah. And I would not be able to do what I'm doing without faith, a really strong, powerful faith in God. I believe this is what God wants me to be doing.
100%.
Is this work.
Yeah. And
I don't know many people who aren't successful and happy that don't have faith in some kind of relationship to a higher power.
I've yet to meet one.
I have yet to meet one.
No, ever.
And we're both in a lot of these rooms with highly successful people all the time.
Yeah. Literally 0% of the time do you find someone without significant faith in something much bigger than themselves, because the only way you take those big kinds of risks, right? I'll just give you some examples of this stuff too. I mean, like, I'll fast forward through my story here, because not all of it's that interesting, but it's a little more fun when I do it montage style. I graduated from college, and I had already been doing college advising, actually my first year in college, believe it or not. So I took my first cohort when I was 18. And I, learned how to do this business by being in the trenches with the students year after year after year, and then from first principles, figuring out what actually worked. And so my book, believe it or not, I published that, the Ivy League Roadmap, you can get a copy on Amazon, but I published that in 2023, excuse me. And I had been doing this since about 2013, continuously the whole time. And it took me almost 10 years to get to the point where I had a refined set of strategies that I knew were reproducible. And, I did this the opposite of the way that everybody else does it. So I didn't have a mentor who was in college admissions. I never worked in a college admissions office. I didn't even go to an Ivy League school. I ended up going to Stony Brook University because they gave me a full scholarship, and I got to study physics and math there, and it was great, but I did all that and then dropped everything, believe it or not. And when I was, I was 21, I was still doing, the consulting, college consulting on the side, but I went and moved to Florida and worked on a political campaign, then moved to DC, and I was working in DC offices, and I ended up actually authoring the resolution that ended up recognizing the Armenian genocide that also actually affected my own family.
Wow,
so that kind of...
That's incredible.
Yeah, so I worked in Congressman Gus Bilirakis' office there for a few years. I was working...
All Armenians everywhere cheered.
I know, right? Yeah. Well, Greeks too. So there's a lot of people. So my great-grandmother actually was from Smyrna, today called Izmir. And her family's home and most of her cousins at the time were murdered by the government there, and they came to the island my family currently is from as a result of that. And it's a really traumatic thing. So it was a big thing for me to bring some light to that, because I felt like I was sort of, correcting a bit of a generational trauma with it. 100%. And so that was kind of like a side quest for me. And then, I left Washington because, spoiler, and before anybody starts saying I'm partisan about this stuff, I hate all the government. Like I think I'm going to let you guys know something. If you ever had a chance to work in DC, these are not the best people. I'm just going to be honest with you. These are probably some of the worst humans on earth, work in DC, and God bless.
My husband's from DC.
Then
He
okay,
knows.
But like it's really a horrific place. Like, because you have to imagine that power attracts all the most horrible people on earth, and so I ended up leaving there because my soul was being destroyed, and so I got out of there and ended up really pushing on building this business, full time. And I moved down to Florida during COVID, in part because, again, we talked about before, like New York was destroyed. Came down here, started from scratch. I was sleeping in my car, believe it or not, for a while there.
Love the origin
Right.
story.
It was sick.
That's a strong one.
I couldn't even afford an apartment. I was taking showers on the beach, right? I'm serious. Yeah, it was crazy. And then
So much respect,
yeah,
Andreas.
thank you. It was an interesting time. That was before I met Sophia. Okay, so she was not a part of that part. She came in after I had an apartment.
You had to initiate. Get ready for it.
100%. I had to set the table. No, she's not going to date the homeless guy living out of his car. Okay? But I don't blame her. Okay.
I was also on a car camping trip when I met him. I was like, yeah, I did a month from LA up to British Columbia to a meditation retreat.
Was that on purpose?
Yes.
Okay, that's better than me.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, that's different. Okay. All right. So long story short, I came down here because it was actually open and people were happy. And I was like, oh, okay. I like that, right? And I just stayed here because the weather was warm. And if you grew up in New York, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Nothing personal. I love you guys, but it's nicer down here, And so we set up shop here, and the rest is history. But that's the sort of all background to this stuff, right? And that journey that I had, which is not the expected thing, because you wouldn't think that someone with a physics background would get involved in this, but it gave me the analysis skills I needed to call out the BS just from the data, right? So I didn't, need to go talk to somebody who works in these offices. What I did was I actually read the documents, right? So how Harvard got sued over affirmative action, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard.
It's a big story.
Yeah, huge story. And so the when they got sued, there were depositions of everybody in the admissions office. And honestly, if you're working in college admissions and you haven't read the depositions, I really think you should, because it is the first and only time that college admissions officers have been forced to tell the truth under oath about what they actually do. Because if you go to any of the information sessions where admissions officers are talking to you about how admissions works, they are dirty, dirty, dirty liars and crooks, right? My favorite is I think it was a guy, I think it was from Yale. I don't even know if it was on the Yale podcast, or I think it was on one of the information sessions I was watching, who was telling kids, listen, in your application, the number one thing I want you to do is be yourself. And I want to throw up, because it's I can't think of more toxic advice you could give a person, because when you're saying be yourself, it sounds like you're being, good, because everyone's like, oh, I just have to be me. My little special snowflake self is going to get in by just being me. How great is that for me? But the truth is that you're surrendering your agency to have control over your narrative and say, no, I want to be this person. Mm-hmm. This is who I'm aiming at, which is the actual thing you do to persuade people in admissions, right? Mm-hmm. You can't just be yourself. You have to be the best version of yourself. You have to carefully choose the details that you're sharing, because they only get a glimpse of you. Yeah. So what you're actually doing when you're telling them that is giving them a platitude that makes you look virtuous. You're virtue signaling for yourself, Yale admissions officer person, right? And I'm picking on him because he deserved it, right? But but it doesn't actually do anything for the student. If anything, you just made it significantly less likely that everybody who's listening to you would get into Yale.
They are salespeople at the end of the day,
right?
And what bothers me, I think, the most is that when families go on these tours and they're like, you'll have a much greater chance if you apply early. And
Oh
and
my
what
God,
they
we're
don't
going to get so much trouble for talking
what
about this
they
one. I love it.
don't
Go
leave
ahead.
out is sometimes the data is available, sometimes it's not. But
Right.
I mean, for WashU, you can find the data. It's like
Oh yeah.
86% of their class is admitted early, but those that like or something, it's some crazy number, but it's the top 10% or the top 14% of their class.
Correct.
So that's the part they leave out.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
who's actually
and
getting
the
admitted.
athletes too, right? Because if you look at the numbers, like I did this at one point just to prove a point, right? Where I went through the numbers, and Harvard made this very hard to find, but I'm a data scientist by training, so good luck with that. But
don't mess with Andreas. Don't show up to a gunfight with nunchucks.
No, not when it comes to doing data analysis. I'm not the one.
I think that's genius.
I'm really not the one. So I built my own internal data sets actually from limited disclosures that they did both through newspapers, through the Crimson, and through disclosure of previous years. And I was able to actually model the consistent percentage of athletes that they actually have year over year in their class. It turns out somewhere between 10 to 15% of an incoming Harvard class are recruited athletes, right? That works out to be about 300 to 400 people typically per year. How many people do they admit early? It's about 800. So, and how many of the athletes get in early? Pretty much all of them, right? So at least half of the people getting in early are just the athletes. I'm not talking about like the hyper qualified overachievers who are also the people they're picking early, right? Because what reason would they have to pick you early otherwise, right?
And sometimes like this cycle was really tough. I mean,
hard
like
for a lot of people, yeah.
You had to be hooked. Legacy, recruited athlete,
something,
right?
right? Yeah. Or major competition winners, like something spectacular about you. Because like, okay, like if you're an admissions officer and you're looking at these applications, right? Like, do you really are so full of yourself that you think you're doing them a favor by applying early as like some regular person? Or like my favorite is when people are like, but it shows interest. I'm like, honey,
they don't need to worry. They don't need to worry about showing. Yeah.
They know you're interested. they know you're interested. It's like I make this joke. This one didn't actually go viral on TikTok. I thought it would actually. I'm like, oh, if you go,
just record it again.
I know I really should, right? Like if you like ask Sydney Sweeney out on a date, you're like, or maybe see you post a video, be like, oh, Sydney Sweeney, please come to prom with me. I think you're so pretty. It's like, great, thanks. Like, you and everybody else? Like what do you mean? Like, you think she's impressed by that? Like, I don't know. If you're trying to get a date with Sydney Sweeney, I feel like you got to go like a little out of your way. I mean, I'm just saying, okay, a little out of your way, right? Like, these colleges are perfectly well aware that you're interested in them, and so it's like, okay, you're not doing them any favor,
especially
by
if you're like picking out your list by going to U.S. World News, right?
Oh my God, no, that's the other problem too. You know, those are paid also.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that I believe. Yeah.
U.S. News and World Report, right? They publish their rankings of the colleges every year, and sometimes you see these bizarre rankings. And there are some colleges like Columbia that got in trouble for like lying about their stats to improve their rankings, which was a whole separate problem, and they deserve to get in trouble for that. But at the same time, these news sources also will solicit direct donations from the universities, right? Donations, right? That definitely affect their spot in the rankings, right? And some of the top colleges, they don't have to do it, but then whenever you notice like a Northeastern that like randomly like jumps up like 100 spots, and you're wondering like, well, what's Northeastern doing exactly? Like do they have like some special sauce with their students?
That's a fascinating story. What he did.
Oh, tell me about. Do you know about that one? Tell me about
actually, Zach knows more of the details. The story of Northeast, how Northeastern University became so. So desirable.
Oh, they game the rankings.
Yes,
and they're not really that desirable either. Like they lied about. They lie about their admission stats.
That does not surprise me.
So they publicly list. Guess what the publicly reported acceptance rate for Northeastern is?
Something like, is it somewhere around 12 or
4? 4%.
Wow, that is insane.
For reference, Harvard's admission rate, which is a real admission rate, is like 3.5 something.
Yeah.
Right. Northeastern ain't as selective as Harvard. Okay, so we already know that's BS on its face.
It was like an okay school.
it is. And again, this is not, for the record, I'm not like trying to like say too many horrible things about Northeastern. I just don't like the lying. Okay, like it's a good school. It's like a nice middle of the road school. They do a lot of things very well. I'll give them some credit where credit's due. They're definitely lying about the admission stats because what they do is they have campuses all around the world, right? So they have campuses in Oakland, in California. They have campuses in like a bunch of different countries. One of my, a friend of my family actually like he went to Northeastern and he started in Greece, actually, of all places. So like he did like a year in Greece, which probably was a really fun time. He was like partying in Greece for a year and then came to the Boston campus, right?
Yeah.
But the way they do it is they report the acceptance rate only to their Boston campus as if that's the total acceptance rate, and it's not even close to being true.
Yeah,
like it's all yeah. Like at least Timu Duke is honest about the fact that they're doing that as like a separate thing. For those of you who don't know what that means, Timu Duke is referring to like the Kunshan Duke that they set up in China. I call it Timu Duke. Where because like it's not really Duke, right? Because like the full Duke.
It's like NYU Singapore.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Where like all the top NYU professors. Yeah. They don't want to live there. Like they're going to be at the main campus, right? The same thing with Duke. Like you really think that like the very, very, very best of the Duke professors are going to get up and go move to China? Sorry, like no, like no one wants to do that, right? So like you're not getting the best of the best. You're getting something else, which is fine. But like then don't tell me that like I went to Duke. Like you sort of did. like. Timu Duke, a little bit. Anyway, sorry, I don't want to get you in trouble with that. That's my opinion, not Kate. Kate, she's nicer than me. Okay,
I'm definitely a little bit more cautious, but I appreciate your candor and your openness. Yeah. I just think you've seen a lot, and you are willing to say what you think. You have a strong opinion about it.
Yeah,
and I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I mean, I can't disagree with it.
I just want them to be honest,
Yeah.
That's why I like, I call this podcast Go Ivy or Go Free.
Yeah.
And I did that in part because I found that people are being misled about the value of a college degree. Like we're being totally lied to, because back in like the 70s and 80s, that used to be a direct path to the middle class. You go to any college, get a degree, and you're going to be okay. And today, it's a lot more complicated than that, right? We're dealing with schools that have different specialties in different areas. Some schools that have big brands that are, global, then maybe it's worth paying for that. And then people are being saddled with debt to go to a school where the brand really is not going to be worth that much. Like, I'm sorry, like if you're paying full price for Northeastern, you're a fool. Right, you just are, right? Like because that is it's a good school. Don't get me wrong, but you're $400,000, which it costs more than Harvard. You know that?
No, I didn't. That's insane.
$94,000 a year for Northeastern, $86,000 a year for Harvard. I don't get it. It's like all the market dynamics are just messed up.
Well, when I think about like the costs of having campus and buildings, like actual physical space,
it's expensive.
It's incredibly expensive.
100%. And all the thousands of administrators they definitely don't need. Someone's got to say.
Super efficient higher education. If it were a company that was relying on actually having profit,
right?
They would slim down real quick.
Well, I think they're distorted, right? My pet opinion about higher education is that we're dealing with something in higher education now that the housing market was dealing with in 2006. Right. So like you're probably familiar with this. Well, no, but the reason why the housing crisis in 2008 happened was because they were approving all these people for loans, right? Yeah. That had no business being approved for a mortgage ever, right? Because the Bush administration.
I just think about that movie, The Big Short.
Yo, that's one of my favorites.
And they're in the strip club, and he's like, "How many homes do you have?" She's like, "I have 4 homes and 3 condos," and he's like. Takes off his glasses like, oh, we have a problem here.
We have a big problem, right? Yeah. And so they're approving these people without underwriting, which would be like checking if you can actually afford the mortgage, right? And so what ended up happening was they gave all these mortgages to people who could never afford a mortgage, right? And then they have no way of paying them back, right? Which didn't matter at the time to the mortgage lenders, right? Because they were getting paid on commission, right? People don't know this actually, but when you actually go to apply for a mortgage, your mortgage broker gets a commission of your debt, actually. So they get paid up front, and they sell that to a big bank, and it's like a whole separate thing. Again, the finance bros in the chat are going to be very happy about that. But it's the same, if not worse, right now for college loans, because the Bush administration, and I'm going to call them out on this, they really messed up on this one. This is the second Bush administration. I think it was in 2002, if I recall correctly. There's an executive order that passed that made student loans the only kind of debt that is non-dischargeable in bankruptcy.
Oh, yes. That is shocking that was.
It's the worst kind of debt you could ever have.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of it.
You cannot get rid of it.
It's literally.
I have a friend that's been paying like $800 a month in her student debt for maybe 15, 17 years.
And you can't get rid of it no matter what you do. It's honestly, it's worse than having like a disease. Like it's crazy. And so like they have this debt, it'll last forever. There's no way to get rid of it. And the reason why they did that was because if you think about it from a lender's perspective, well, that removes all your risk, right? Because otherwise they're going to say, oh, okay, you're, if your family makes like what, $50,000, $60,000 a year, you want to go to school to study, creative underwater basket weaving. Yeah, that's not going to work out for you. Sorry. Like, you can't take out a $400,000 loan to go study that. Sorry, we're going to cap you at like 100, right? Which is what you actually maybe could pay back, right? When you graduate with your, $50,000 a year max income, right? Which maybe you could pay that back over 20 years. Still probably not the best situation for you to be in, but like, more manageable. And, they just blew the caps off all of that. And so the colleges, I think, then saw that and were like, oh, well, then we can just raise our prices because when you take out your student loans, the college gets paid up front, right? So the college is like, oh, okay, we're going to just raise our prices, show our higher expenditure so that it looks good for us as a nonprofit, right? Because they have to hide the profits somehow. Nonprofits really just mean high salary, right? So they have to take the profits and put it somewhere else, right? And so the colleges, they saw this game and they're like, okay, well, we're just going to keep raising those prices, right? And we don't even care, right? And then what happens is then, the students who go to these schools where the degree is not worth something are footing the bill. And they're stuck. It's crazy.
Well, if they were actually educating them on how to earn in the free market,
right?
I'd be like, okay, cool.
Right.
I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on education for building business, how to become profitable.
Right.
Like these are things that are worth the money because the more I spend on the education, actually, the more I gain in return.
100%.
Like, when I made some big moves with my company, I was like, I'm going to put, 50 grand down for this program. I didn't have that at the time. I was like, I just trust that I know that this is going to help me make more money.
Right.
And it was tangible, and I made it back within like 3 months or whatever, 2.5 months. Right. But the colleges aren't actually preparing students to compete in the free market.
No, they're not.
And that's where I'm like, the value is it's not mathing for me.
No, it's not mathing
what they're getting
at all, right?
Yeah.
That's why I'll tell people this phrase. I'll say like go Ivy or go free, and it'll get a lot of people very upset because a lot of people ended up paying Ivy prices for like not Ivy degrees, right? And you're kind of salty about that, which I understand. Like I would be too, right? But I turned down multiple.
Well, again, this generation is in a world that is just so vastly different and complex, and is increasingly so, that none of the old rules apply.
None
anymore, and everybody's clinging on to what was
100%.
But that's not that's not the world they're going into.
No, because it used to be like what really blows my mind. It's like families that really want their kid to be a doctor, and they say, "I want you to go be a doctor." And, for example, like let's say you want your kid to go be a radiologist, for example.
My grandfather was a radiologist.
Which is a beautiful thing. It was a great profession for a lot of people for a lot of years.
It's still high paying, more high paying than
100%. Yeah. Except that like right now, like they're about to be displaced by AI. They're about to get rocked because there's software that is better than humans. Not like a little better. It is a lot better than humans at detecting, whatever stuff they need to detect for radiology. Like they'll look at the scans and it'll figure you out much better than a human ever would. And the human's really at this point just there to confirm it. And you'll have, I think, a small number of radiologists. I don't think they're going to get like lost entirely. You have a small number that are just much more leveraged. That's probably what's going to happen because we'll want human checks on it to make sure like nobody gets like
kind of what they're doing in admissions. It's like, okay, we'll use AI and then we'll make the human being there to confirm the score.
Oh, you're gonna scare people. Tell people about that. Okay, you probably know about them.
Just go look at there's tons of news out there. They've already got their PR machines behind it, trying 100%. To get ahead of it.
Yeah. UNC is doing this.
Yeah. Who else is? There's like 3 or 4 different colleges right now that have announced it.
Yes, I know UNC announced that they're trialing it out. There's a couple others off the top of my head. Maybe we can throw that in show notes. But
they just don't have the manpower to look through all these applications, thanks to the Common App.
Well, yeah.
it's impossible.
It's really impossible. My favorite is like, have you seen the admissions officers? They'll be like, okay, we give your application a full holistic review. We really care about this.
Good marketing language.
It's wonderful marketing, right? Yeah. But like holistic, meaning like, okay, we're gonna carefully sit with your application, carefully review it. I have my little cup of tea, right? That's the way I was imagined when I was in high school. I used to think that they were sitting in the admissions office with like, this is an interesting kid. Oh, he worked really hard on this topic. I like him. Let's have a conversation about him over a leisurely stroll, right, and see if we can take him. And it's like, actually, it's a factory. Okay, it's like 80,000 people that are applying, which, by the way, pre-COVID was like sub 50, right? And it was a much more reasonable process back then at scale. It's to the point where like now people can't even do interviews.
Yeah, that's kind of wild to me. They're using a service now. Glimpse, yeah.
Right. Yeah, because they don't have enough alumni to effectively interview that many people in time, right? There's just no way. There's not enough alumni on earth from these colleges to give these kids interviews because there's too many people applying, and they want to keep more people applying, and they say they couch it and they say it's about access. We want everybody on earth to apply to Harvard. And it's like, no, you don't.
These buzzwords are they really get to me.
It's horrible.
Because they are anything but about access.
No, they say they're about access while they make their program increasingly inaccessible and the admission rate drops. They say they're about diversity. Meanwhile, they keep admitting more from an exact mold of students, both socially, politically, economically. They're actually, stratifying it even more. They say they're about equity when nothing about this is equal. And it's like, what are you doing?
The world isn't meant to be equal.
No.
That's not the world that we live in.
Wouldn't even be effective if it was.
Wouldn't be effective if it was.
But they will strive for something excellent.
But I do think that there is opportunity because all the cracks are showing for something new to emerge. And I think something will.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like that to be something like what we've created, like a much more personalized, customizable education.
Yep.
That's, directed by a mentor that's actually like cares about you
100%
emotionally, socially, spiritually.
Did I ever tell you why I'm building Wiz?
No.
So my long-term vision, my 20-year goal is to make the marginal cost of education zero. I set this goal like a while ago. I was actually working with a business coach. I also hired a business coach at one point.
We all have coaches. We can't do anything great and awesome without coaching.
No, it's so worth it.
Yeah, nobody who has done and isn't using a coach, they're lying to you.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So I was working with Adam and Tom, actually, Atomic Business Coaching. They have a really cool thing. They have a really cool profile, actually, if you guys want to give them a try. But in any case, so I was working with them, and one of the things I figured out was that I need something way bigger than me. And, part of the reason I've invested an enormous amount into building Wiz, and we have really cool stuff that's starting to come out of this, because I want to build the software foundations for AI tutoring systems that can teach all the boring stuff in school in minutes, right? Because why are we spending all these days and all these hours in school, right? It's crazy. Have you seen Alpha?
It's so inefficient.
Have you seen Alpha School in Texas?
Yes, I love Alpha School in Texas. They're teaching in 2 hours a day.
Right.
And the kids the testing is off the charts.
Yeah, the principal is going to be on this podcast soon.
Oh my God. Thank God.
Yeah, Joe Limond. I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly. He's amazing, right? Their school is awesome. If you guys aren't following him and Mackenzie Price,
it means
part of the founders.
What's so cool is that because they're able to get through the curriculum efficiently using these AI tutors that fill in all the missing gaps instead of trying to teach one set to lots of kids at different levels. It just is super targeted. Right. Then you can spend the rest of the day actually doing interesting things, working on special projects and masterpieces and livable skills.
Oh, their kids are doing phenomenal stuff. Do you follow Sloan Price by chance?
No.
So she has this really amazing, it's very wholesome social media presence. She has a couple million followers on TikTok, a couple 100,000 on Instagram. She recently got into Stanford. She came on a couple of my TikTok lives and, asked a couple of questions, and she and I have been following each other for a while, and really amazing girl who overcame some pretty serious medical issues as well while she was building this huge social media presence and such a positive and uplifting presence. And I love it. And, her mom is Mackenzie Price. Her mom was involved in the founding of Alpha School.
No
right?
kidding.
And in part founded it for,
I didn't know about the health problems. I know that she was struggling with school, so they started homeschooling. And
right. And so she unfortunately, she was actually in the hospital recently, but she got out and, God bless her, and I hope she makes a full recovery from this stuff. But it results in some of the most spectacular kids that I've had a chance to interact with. I love the Alpha School kids; they're so cool.
Well, I've done a lot of events with them and like workshops where they like have come in and like they teach us how to they teach us all the projects that they're working on, and some of them are super cool. Whether it's like a documentary on like the latest cancer research, or like building a huge platform on teaching parents how Gen Z dates, it could be anything.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Whatever you're interested. I think that's what parents don't understand. It's like, doesn't my kid have to have like some like compelling advanced interest? No, we just take whatever they're interested in
and just pour gasoline on it.
Pour gasoline on it.
Literally. For years until something special pops out. And then that's the kind of thing that the colleges will end up wanting. And frankly, who cares? If the colleges don't want it in the end, you spent all your time pursuing something you're talented in. So obviously you're going to be better off, right? Like regardless. So it's not even just about the college. It's like a way of
making college obsolete in a way.
Which frankly it should be. Like that's all. I don't want to open that box today.
I know.
But it's weird to be in an industry where like, honestly, like
it's still why people come to us.
It is though, ironically, right? Yeah.
Well, they come to us more and more now because they are so dissatisfied with they hire a college coach and they're like, well, they literally did nothing for 2 years.
Yeah.
So what did I hire them for? And then on the other hand, we get the people that are like, why are you so expensive? And it's like, yeah, we're comically expensive. We've been told that, but we're worth every penny.
Yeah.
Because a college coach who's just going to dole out advice is, to me, worthless.
100%.
Because unless you can get the kid motivated and engaged and like actually implementing this stuff, what's the point of advice?
There's none. And like what I try to explain to people too, and this is the unfortunate reality of this industry. Like, I'm going to spill a little more tea here. We've done enough in this podcast.
I'm okay with it. You go ahead and say what you want to say.
It'll be fine.
And I will either go, or I'll say something.
It's an unfortunate reality that like this industry in terms of consulting is a lot like, PR consulting, for example, which a lot of people don't realize is just a job for failed journalists, right? And so most of college consulting is really just a backup job for failed admissions officers. Okay.
I couldn't even know that, but it's so real.
I know it is real.
It's a job that the industry is a racket. It's a massive racket.
Most of it's a racket because what will happen is like somebody will go work at like, let's say Harvard or Yale, whatever. They'll make their $40,000 a year for like a year or two.
Yeah.
And they'll do that for a little bit. Yeah. And then for the rest of their life, regardless of their actual talent level, and that's the part that no one includes, they will then come out of there and then market themselves and say, well,
I had this job for 1 year.
Right. I worked at the Harvard admissions office. If anybody knows how to get you into Harvard, it's me. I was on the inside. Right.
Well, but this is the thing that they don't leave out. Parents come to us like, well, I hire coaches based on their ability to perform and develop human beings.
Right. Me too.
I don't hire based on admissions expertise because I have that on my staff. I can just go get the information if I have a question or I'm not sure, and then we can implement it. But great, go hire the admissions expert, but can they coach your kid to actually implement this?
Probably not.
Can they actually help them develop over a long period of time?
Which is a different skill set.
It's a totally different skill set.
So one of my the parents that I work with, who's actually an exceptional entrepreneur himself, I don't want to give too many details because confidentiality or whatever, but like he liked to call me a startup founder on demand, right? And that's really what the kids are looking for. They're looking for somebody to help them effectively found the startup of them.
Yes.
Right.
And, I love that idea, by the way.
Yeah, cool. Which is beautiful. And it's a different thing you're doing.
You have to think of yourself as a business, actually.
You have to, 100%. And then you're developing your own marketing skills. You're developing your own performance. You're investing in yourself over time.
You are marketing all the time. You just don't know it.
Nonstop. And then the people who aren't focused on that go nowhere. And on top of all of that, the people who worked in a college admissions office are probably some of the worst marketers on earth. right? If you think about it, like working in a college admissions office, what does that mean? You're back office. You're usually a low-level employee who is reading a bunch of these essays. You're not writing them. You have experience reading them. Okay.
Yeah, they have most of them have no idea about writing craft,
At
how
all.
to teach writing, and how to take a kid who literally can't write a sentence to someone who can
Right,
write
100%.
a beautiful story.
Absolutely. And I love that you brought up Joseph Campbell before, right? Because like, Hero with a Thousand Faces, which is like, one of his many books, and which is really phenomenal, was pivotal for me in my understanding of writing. I learned about it, believe it or not, through my dad. So my dad actually has a PhD in anthropology. And so I grew up like a complete anthropology, sociology nerd as a consequence of that. My dad, like,
That's a nice combo with physics, actually.
yeah, it's weird. Like I was the odd one out in the family with like the more like STEM background.
That's a great application narrative, by the way. I like that.
It was pretty good, right? I wish I thought of that when I was 17, but it worked out regardless, thank God. But like, it was a very different background for me growing up, and because I was kind of steeped in that, like later on in life, I think I had different access. But the reason I bring up that book is just because, like, if you're, let's say for example, you're somebody, and this is sort of advice to like budding consultants, so like if you're like someone who's a reasonably talented writer, you're interested in joining this field, you want to help someone market themselves, that book is the one I think I recommend more than any other. Right. It would probably be a combination. You tell me if any of these have spoken to you too. I'm curious, actually. I want to trade book lists. But if I had to pick any book, it would probably be certainly Hero with a Thousand Faces for writing, Influence by Robert Cialdini, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And
I just ordered Influence, by the way.
You did?
Yeah, I just ordered it.
It's going to rock your world.
It's
so cool. Yeah. And the top one by far, and honestly, I think this year we're going to start giving this as a gift to all of our students. It's How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big by Scott Adams.
Oh, that's a great one. Yes.
It's so good.
Yeah.
God rest his soul. He passed actually last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And a lot of great people are heading back over to the other side.
It made me really sad. Scott in particular, Scott Adams was probably one of the biggest influences on my life in a positive way. I mean, I considered him my internet dad, and it actually makes me a little emotional talking about it. I would not be where I am today, not only without the books that he wrote, which were hugely reshaping the way I communicate with people and the way that I live my life. But, his daily podcast, he had a podcast called Coffee with Scott Adams, which, if you aren't familiar with it, you might say it's about politics, but really it was more about understanding the world and understanding it through the lenses of persuasion and of market dynamics, because he has such a special background, having worked both like in business, then as being the cartoonist for Dilbert, and then eventually being a commentator and author. And I learned to make sense of the world by listening to him every single morning for an hour a day for, I think, over 8 years.
Wow.
And then...
You make me want to check it out, because I thought about it when he passed.
Yeah. It's so worth it. Even the episodes that are like somewhat outdated, that's the crazy part to me, because like I'll go back and I'll listen to some of those, and it feels like it's still relevant now. In 2018, he had this one episode where he talked about the user interface for reality, right? And what he did was he basically like framed a bunch of tools where, if you were to operate through those tools, it would change your perception of reality. So, for example, talent stacking, right? The idea of combining a lot of different talents in your life, that maybe you're top 10% in a few different areas, and then that makes you top 1% in something. Like I'll give you an example. Like, for example, I'm right now, I do college admissions consulting, right? Well, am I, the best writer on earth? Probably top 10%. Am I the best speaker? Also probably top 10%. Am I the best in physics? Probably top 1%, but like definitely not like I'm not Einstein for sure, right? And a few of these other areas, but you combine those together and you have a unique package of a person. Likewise with you, right?
Yeah.
Look at the experiences you've had in all these different areas, but you throw them all together, then now you have this talent stack that lets you affect other people in a way that you never would before. But like in any one of them, are you the Michael Jordan? Probably not. Right.
Yeah. Most people underestimate just how long it takes to get good at something.
Yeah.
You really have to stick with something. When you talked about this is the first time students experience market outcomes and like projections. That's why I chose acting. I mean, I wanted to get over my fear. I mean, I chose the thing that scared me the most. So if you want something and you're terrified, chances are you should probably move towards that thing. There's 100%. Something to grow through.
Carl Jung talked about that.
That makes sense. I love Jungian psychology.
Yeah. So that
was a big influence for me too.
Really?
Yeah, but what did he say about moving towards
it's about developing your shadow.
Oh, yes, right. Moving into the shadow. Yes.
100%. So the Jungian shadow is the idea that there's like the piece of yourself that is this aggressive, scary piece that most of civilization is actually there to suppress it, right? But all the things that we love about people, ironically, also come from the shadow. So,
absolutely,
which is, and I say this thing, I'll say this even in the context of my own audience, right? And not to be too self-absorbed with this, but like, part of the reason why people follow me is because I can be a dick, right? I'll go out there and I'll tell people, oh, actually, yeah, most college consultants are just failed admissions officers.
But they want the truth.
But that's it. Because the shadow is there, they know there's some teeth. Right. And so then when I'll tell them something, they'll say, oh, okay, that guy wasn't afraid of some other external influence. He had the teeth to say the truth. And you need the shadow, because if you don't have your shadow developed in that Jungian sense, when things get hard, you will crumple.
Oh, so true.
And I see people crumple. That's when you get, that's one of the treatments they do for PTSD.
Oh, they help you move. Well, it makes sense. I mean, the way they use psychedelics,
right?
Iboga, all of that.
So that works because in the shamanic experience, when you're like encountering those psychedelics, they're actually helping you develop your shadow, right? So what happens is like they'll find, and PTSD will be created in part because
you re-experience in order to recalibrate, right?
Right, because the first time you experienced it, you had a negative experience that you weren't prepared for. You had not been properly primed and introduced to the dark parts of the world, and they came out you out of nowhere, and you're like, whoa. And then, you kind of
just keeps repeating the experience.
Exactly. You're deer in headlights, right? Because that's your natural instinct, right? But then you can re-experience the same thing as an adult, as a developed human, right? Without any of those same, original responses, and the PTSD will go away because now you can go back and say,
I'm
actually,
like seeing Chris Nolan and he's like going into the chest and his dad's dying.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
I think in terms of movies,
as you should. No, and the movies are a representation of ourselves, right? It's where we pull the archetypes out, right? And what we develop that shadow. And one of the things that I'd like to teach my students too is to be a little edgy. Be a little out there, go get aggressive, go after the goal, go get the thing, because that's the shadow that then when you go try to do something hard and you're getting your teeth kicked in by the world later on in life, which Lord knows happens enough times, okay, that's the thing that will then pick you up and say, oh, let's go again. Right? Because I'm actually...
I'm alive.
Not just alive. I'm kind of like, I'm aggressive too. Right. I'm the scary thing in the shadow. It's not just an external thing to me. It's a little piece of me too.
Yeah. It's like you've made friends with your inner monster.
It's Sleeping Beauty. Yeah. Right. So are you familiar with the story of Sleeping Beauty? Yeah. Right. So like, the parents, for people who haven't seen Sleeping Beauty. So like Sleeping Beauty is like a princess, right? And the parents, they don't invite the evil witch to her birthday, right? And as a consequence, Sleeping Beauty falls asleep, right? And she's not revived again until there's a hero that comes and then reintroduces that piece of darkness to herself, right? So what you want, ideally, if you're a parent especially, and this is actually, we're going to go back to this, right? Part of the reason I think why you and I probably have some contempt for the people who will say, oh, let kids be kids, is because your job as a parent is the opposite of that. Yeah. Your job as a parent is not to keep your kid a kid. It's kind of like in Pinocchio, right? It's Geppetto in Pinocchio. He looks up at the star, right? At the highest ideal he can posit. And then he says, I want my little boy to not be a wooden boy. I want him to be a real boy. I want him to become something special and honest and true and go out there and adventure. Yeah. And I don't want him to be a kid because he was bold and brave and he wanted the best for his kid. And the best thing for your kid is actually to not be a kid. It's to get out there and try something.
Answer the call to adventure.
Every time.
Yeah. It's so that let kids be kids idea is, there are so many issues with it. But I think that the future we're moving towards is where we start not talking about the realities of life, but we make our educational system so that it's fun
Yes.
And it's skill building, and you can fail and try. Right now, it's like, it's all fake.
Everything is fake.
Everything is fake.
It's all going after gold stars.
It's all going after gold stars. I think it was Susie Welch. I was listening to her talk about this the other day, NYU professor, who was like, the only time you ever get a clap for completing the assignment is school. It's such a lie. And she's totally right. It's like, you'll never get a clap for completing the assignment, only for going above and beyond, doing way more than is expected of you.
100%.
And it's better you know the truth about that now.
Right.
And it doesn't mean you have to sacrifice like your health and well-being, although you might want to because you're having so much fun doing it. You know?
Which is fine, right?
you might put those things a little bit. We both have had this experience the last couple of years. It's like you do make a lot of sacrifices when you shoot for big goals. But the fun I keep talking about fun,
right?
But I want kids to know this. It's not about the realities of life. It's actually the realities of life are so much joy and fun if you throw yourself fully into it.
100%. You have an adventure, a real adventure. And adventures will have the scary parts. And the adventures also have the reward when you get through it, right? And if we don't get you sort of addicted to that, that's when you retreat. That's when you end up being like that guy living in his mom's basement at like age 40, right? And it's pathetic, right? You're an old infant, right? And honestly, like, you
never grew up, really.
You never grew up. Right. And that's the thing that I think the opposite of what I want for my kids. Like I want the students in my program and I treat them kind of like an extension of like what I would have wanted to be told when I was their age. Right. And the thing we want to tell them is you can be something great. You can be more than you are. And what you are now is not good enough. And that's the beauty of it. It's not good enough. And you get to be something really, really special.
Into it.
Yeah. You get to be something really special because if all you are today is all you're going to be,
what's the point, really?
What's the point? So, welcome to the Q&A section of Go Ivy or Go Free, episode 2 with Kate Stone. We will be taking live questions from Instagram as they come in.
By the way, Andreas is a total softie, for anyone wondering. You have no idea. Man has a heart of gold. You just got to meet him in real life.
I appreciate that. I like the public persona where it's a little bit more edgy, but like you can't do that to people in real life. They'll hit you. You got to be careful. It's more of like a personal safety thing.
I got one here. What can I do if I got 4 Bs my junior year, but is excusable?
Wow, what can I do if I got 4 Bs my junior year and is it excusable? What do you think?
These questions are a tough one for me because I'm going to be honest with you. Schools, depending on the schools you're aiming for, and I imagine you're going for the selective to highly selective schools, they don't necessarily want to see a bunch of Bs on your transcript.
Ever. Let alone junior year.
And excusable, I have questions.
It would have to be a pretty big excuse. Excuses don't really work that late in the process. My suggestion would be it depends on like what you're hoping for. Like schools like MIT are not going to have it. So a lot of colleges, you'd probably be a better candidate for transfer in like the super highly selective colleges. I would go to like the best college you get into and like apply anyway. But the thing is, like if you have an excuse early on, I've seen that work. Have you seen that? Because I've seen it work with like 9th and 10th grade.
Yeah,
where you can
it's more accepted. Yeah.
Yeah, way more accepted. You can get like a B in like 8th, 9th, 10th grade. Most of the time, if you have something going on at home, whatever, you can say it. But as long as you have
some upward trajectory.
Exactly. Yeah. But if you get A's your junior year and you have a high score on the SAT, a lot of the time they'll give you a pass. Like they'll say, okay, it's probably just a fluke, whatever. He got it together. Like we get it. You're a kid. I've never seen that work out junior year.
No. Sorry, honey.
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you. But transfer, like Andreas said, like just apply, see what the best school you get into is or the best match for you. But transfer options, we talked about this in the podcast we just shot. It's a lot easier to transfer in as long as you can do something epic there and do really well there. Yeah.
The transfer works really well. Like if you get a 4.0 GPA, which is possible, totally possible in college, as long as you're just conscientious. Yeah, you could totally transfer. A lot of great colleges, like for example, Columbia and Cornell have extremely high transfer acceptance rates. Like it's like almost 20%, something like that. It's huge. I mean, compared to their undergrad, it's better. The admission rate for transfer at some of these schools is higher than their out of high school admission rate.
Absolutely,
which is awesome. So yeah, it depends on the context, but that's how I would do that.
This is a good point, by the way, to make sure that when you're adding rigor to your schedule junior year, make sure that you can perform. And it's not about just adding rigor for the sake of it. You got to be able to perform in these classes.
100%.
So don't overdo it.
Yep.
Does ACT or SAT matter more for colleges?
No.
So does ACT or SAT matter more?
Do they weigh SAT over ACT? Not in my experience.
No. I think there's like two ways to interpret that question, because I think that wasn't really the best wording.
Yeah. What did you hear?
Well, I don't know, because I heard it as like, either does it matter if you take the SAT or ACT? And obviously no, right? You could take either one. Like there, some colleges like Yale, for example, is test flexible now. They're okay with even AP or IB scores, so it really doesn't matter.
Or AP scores, yeah.
Yeah, literally, right? You can submit a few AP scores, you're fine.
You just need to know that you're competent academically.
Which is not really that high of a bar for
Yeah.
these schools, honestly. Like, you should be academically on par. And then there's the other way to interpret it, which is like, do the test scores matter at all now? Which is yes. Yes.
Yes, they do. They matter so much.
So much. It's crazy.
So much.
We were talking about this before, with like how demonized test optional, sorry, the other way around, like how demonized the tests were for the past few years when they had test optional. And it's funny, did you get a chance to read the op-ed from the president of Brown? Sorry, not Brown, Dartmouth.
Yes, yeah.
You read it?
The research that they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what they found was that, like, this is all, by the way, I'm just quoting the president of Dartmouth here. So if you guys have a problem with what I'm about to say, go after her. Be
nice to Andreas. He's giving you such valuable information here.
They mostly are. But most of the time, I get lots of love too. I complain about the death threats, but everything else I'm okay with. But ironically, I get too many of those specifically for this topic. It's the test optional. They always come after me for it. Whatever, it's okay.
Serious question. Can I talk about bad teachers in my comments?
No. Do not complain about a bad teacher. And also, if you do have a bad teacher, do not complain about, he's asking, can I complain about bad teachers in my Common App? Do not complain at all. Don't make excuses. There are ways in which to build relationship with your teachers, and you can turn this around. You are probably going to have to do some work outside of class to shepherd yourself through this class.
100%.
Figure out, if they don't offer textbooks, get the textbook. Go online. There's tons of videos on YouTube that walk you through the concepts your teacher is covering, probably not in an adequate enough way for you. So please, God, you're going to have to just take this over, and then you can write about that. But really be careful about how you mention a quote unquote bad teacher. Maybe you can reframe it. Like, I wasn't understanding the concepts in the way the teacher was explaining it, or it wasn't being explained to me in the way I needed it to be explained. So I self-taught. That's an empowering story. Focus on the empowerment side of it.
Yeah, 100%. I don't really have much to add to that. What you said is perfect. Definitely don't do that. It's such a bad look. Blaming other people for anything that's going wrong is just automatically just like makes you at the bottom of the totem pole. It's probably the worst.
If you had a shot, you no longer do once you mention a bad teacher.
No, because you're going to have bad professors in college. That's for sure.
Bad managers, bad employers.
100%. And if you ever let that be an excuse for you, that's horrible. Like, don't do that, please.
It's a real opportunity to like soft skill it. Like, we have issues with this. Obviously, everybody does, and we advise our students to go to every office hour.
Yep.
Build a relationship with that teacher. But like, in a way, like, kiss up and like get into their good graces. Find a way to do that. It will serve you so well in life if you learn how to do this early. And actually, you should follow I have someone I follow for soft skills. She's so good at this.
Oh, really?
Her name is Grace. Oh my God, I'm forgetting her handle. I'll post it later. But she helps with employees who deal with bad managers and how to, move through the corporate environment. And it applies to everything. You can learn something from her, and I'll post it later.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Someone wants to know what they should say in their Carnegie Mellon pre-college essays.
What you should say in your Carnegie Mellon pre-college essays.
Well, what's the prompt? What's the Carnegie Mellon? What's the CMU prompt?
I mean, it wouldn't matter. I mean, what you want to do is present yourself in such a way that they're rooting for you. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's probably the best general advice. I mean, the prompts are going to be, you're right about conforming it to the prompt, but like without that and the question, and like you need to find experiences in your life where you're the hero of the story, and then show yourself solving a problem bigger than yourself. because then they have a reason that they can root for you, because admissions officers will find meaning in their lives from living vicariously through the students.
I know.
Right?
It's so true.
And if you're not addressing it that way, if you're not, conscious of what on earth they're experiencing, and if you're talking about like a pre-college summer program, then it's not even an admissions officer who's reading this. I swear it's probably some bored college kid. Right?
Yeah.
So at least give them something that makes them look good if they accept you.
I wanted to say also, just if you're having to tell a story, don't use so much exposition. Like, create scene.
Yep.
Please, like, build scene, then offer, like, show then tell, basic storytelling principle 101. Don't tell. It gets boring. Like, bring them into the scene, into your world.
100%. Maybe ask Melly. Okay.
Melly.
Ask her. She's great at these applications. All right. Next one.
What are the best extracurriculars as a 9th grader for intention of Ivy League pre-med?
That's the challenge with this is that first of all, it's hard to get like an internship or like a volunteer in a hospital. But like where we are, we have like local teen EMT services, so that's like a really good one. Do you have ideas?
I have a different philosophy with this, which is that, I think there's an even bigger risk here, which is that like too many people when they're applying to college think they're applying to medical school. And that just shoots them in the leg automatically, because the college does not want to hear that. They want to hear what you're going to do in college. And these are mostly liberal arts colleges, right? And so what they want to hear is like, oh, I'm going to explore this, or I care a lot about this topic or this major I'm going to do there. And they don't want you to be in a position where you necessarily have already decided on a pre-professional track.
Such a good point.
And so like that, you really shouldn't have even entered your mind at the beginning. Whereas like, and I think this is happening more recently because, and you're probably experiencing this too, a really large number of people who are doing that sort of thing are coming from first-generation immigrant families. Yeah. And I did that. That happened with me too. My parents are from Greece. And so, a lot of the time, if you're from one of these first-generation immigrant families, a lot of the time, back home, they say, okay, go be a doctor, right? Because then that's going to be the thing that's going to make you be able to brag to your family, back in the old country. And they're just laser focused on that, and that's it. They don't really care. Like they're not even here to, the idea of like exploring yourself. Like this is the crazy thing is if outside the U.S., if you tell somebody, oh, I want to like go explore and find who I am, right? They kind of just like stare at you. They're like,
it's such an American idea.
Like, are you good? Like, are you like? We're trying to not starve. Okay, you're out here trying to explore. No, okay, right? That's not really how that goes. The American colleges obviously are on the other side of that spectrum, right? The exact opposite side of that spectrum. And so you have to be cognizant of that because that's who you're trying to impress. I would actually say in like 9th grade, you shouldn't be focusing on which extracurriculars as much as building the foundational skills that will let you get the ones you want later. Like, so for example, a lot of pre-med kids, you want to do science research. So in 9th grade, I have my clients go do a coding class, right? So you can get a good science research position and then do something interesting with that after the fact. Yeah. I think that's way more valuable, honestly.
You're totally correct. Yeah. You want to build the foundational skills.
Yeah.
You don't really need to make big choices about what extracurriculars you're going to do in 9th grade.
No.
You just need to figure out what interests me and how can I explore that interest into great depth so that I have transferable skills.
Exactly. Yeah. Exploring those interests, that's the best part. Yep.
I'm hoping for an Ivy, and I got B's in my freshman year and 3 B's in my sophomore year. Does that matter?
That's way more work. So the question was, I got B's in freshman and sophomore year. I'm still hoping to get into an Ivy. Does that matter? I think that's way more recoverable than the previous case we talked about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like as long as you get a high score on the SAT,
still an uphill battle.
Yeah, it's not great. And this is the thing I think that. Well, you want to take this one? I'm curious, actually, what your take is on this. Because I know Thomas, who I think is a mutual friend of ours, caught a lot of... from Admittedly. Yeah, he caught a lot of flack a few weeks back because he posted a video where he correctly was like saying that for some colleges especially, like having a few B's puts you in a category called an academic risk, right? Which, people were like, what? I can, be in a risk with a few B's? And it's like, yes, depending on when. Right. I don't know. I'm curious where you think they land on that spectrum.
What also I think depends on what your potential major is. Like, is it in the area that you want to pursue academically in college? But I think it's going to be an uphill battle to balance those out with serious, like, special projects, awards and recognitions. Like, you're going to have to offset that with third-party vetting on some level.
Super high scores in SATs and ACTs without a doubt.
Yep. Yeah. That's going to be really big.
Huge. Yeah. If you can do that, AP scores, especially the corresponding subjects, because at least then you could blame it on grade inflation, right? Or deflation, I guess, right? For some of the schools. Like, I have one client who she goes to this very, very intense school in Pennsylvania. I don't want to call it out particularly, but like, if you know, you know, like super, super, super intense school. And she got like a B in calculus, and right now I tested her, right, because I wanted her to take the AP exam and get a 5 to show that she actually knows the calculus. She's on track for a 5 without breaking a sweat. It just so happens that school just grades so freaking harshly that like a B at her school easily would have been A anywhere else. So that matters too, right? It's like where you got the B, that makes a difference.
Yeah. And these admissions offices know more about your school than you realize too. So they'll have context.
Are any private schools worth it, and why?
Private high schools or private colleges? So the question was, are any private schools worth it, and why? Let's answer this for high schools. It's more interesting of a question. What do you think?
I think that private high schools are worth it if there isn't a better alternative nearby. And I also think it's worthwhile if you're going to be at the top of your class, because they'll pour all their resources behind you to help you. If you're not, it's not worth it.
Yeah, I have a pretty similar opinion. Like, my general rule that I tell people is, like, especially with like private feeder schools, like, so let's take, for example, like an Andover, an Exeter, really well-known schools, Lawrenceville fall into this category, Harvard, Westlake. I've had students at all those schools, and I find that if you're in the top 20% of that class, that's a big edge, right? Because if you're the top 20% there, that by itself is an academic qualification, and the colleges know that, and it can really do a lot to improve your odds, and some of those kids will sweep. It's pretty crazy. If you are anywhere below that top 20%, that hurts you, because then you're in a situation where the colleges will consider you privileged. Right, they'll look at your application and say, "Oh, you have all this privilege. Your parents can afford to send you to Harvard, Westlake. Ooh, right? You can't afford SAT prep. I don't think so, right?" And then the crazy part, I don't know if you ever experienced this. Some of those kids trying to go test optional the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, I was out in California, so it was like everywhere.
Everywhere, right? Yeah. No, but that blows my mind, because it's like, what do you mean? Because like test optional, even the best argument for it was for the underprivileged kids.
Yeah,
it wasn't for you if you're going to Harvard, Westlake. If you're in that situation, they expect, okay, you probably got SAT prep courses and tutors, and if you didn't do well on the exam, that's your fault, right? So.
Yep.
Long story short, if you're going to be near the top, makes sense. It's a higher bar for these schools.
Much higher.
I call it the feeder trap, because like everyone around you is like winning competitions and doing projects and doing all this stuff. So like if you're gonna participate in that, like you better be.
And they all have college coaches.
Yeah, they do all have college coaches
like crazy.
too.
It's like,
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
it's crazy.
What's the strategy for emailing professors for research? I've taken 2 CS50 classes, like you said, and I'm working on my own project currently.
Oh, so the question was, what's the strategy for emailing professors for science research? I've taken CS50 already, and I'm working on a project independently.
You take this one.
Yeah, so I've actually promoted this strategy a few times, and part of this, for those of you who don't know, is because I used to work in a physics lab at Brookhaven National Laboratory for about 7 years, and at the time, I mentored a lot of high school kids who used to come with us and do research, and I was one of those kids at one point. And so I'm intimately familiar with what it takes to actually get involved in science research. And there's a, you'll notice the CS50 thing that was mentioned in that question. So CS50 is a free course from Harvard, actually. It's on edX, and it's an introduction to Python and data analysis. And you can take that class to learn about what it would take for you to do data analysis in a research setting. And the reason why that's so important, especially for high school kids who want to do science research, is because if you're going to actually be in one of these labs, they're not going to let you touch anything. Yeah. If you're before the age of 18, there's insurance liability rules, there's institutional liability, there's a million reasons why you are not doing wet work. Now, there are obviously rare cases and exceptions to that, but that is the rule. And as a consequence, the work that you would be doing in high school in one of these labs is purely data analysis, and it almost doesn't matter what field you're doing research in. All of them end up requiring you to do some coding. So, because this also relates to the way that scientific grants are awarded. So when scientists get grants from the federal government, usually they'll get like big block grants. And they have to have a, sort of an army of grad students do like 100 experiments at once. And they'll do all these experiments, and they spend like the next 2 or 3 years writing all the papers as a result of it. And so a lot of researchers will literally just have piles of data lying around, just waiting for somebody to come in and analyze it and turn it into a paper. And that could be you, right? You could go do that, which is great. And that's,
you heard it here, folks.
right? Exactly, right? That's what the ideal case for science research is. And one of the unfortunate things that I call out a lot is that you have a lot of these very mercenary programs, and I'm going to call them out by name: Polygence, Lumiere, Algoverse, and more. If I haven't mentioned them, the default is the business model of these programs is they'll charge you somewhere between $5,000 and $15,000, somewhere in that range, and they pair you up with a graduate student who's working at some elite university. They dazzle you with the name of the college that the graduate student's working at, and then they will have you work with that student to write a meta-analysis or a literature review, which is really just a summary of other research papers. It's not actually original science research. You could barely submit this to any science fairs. You couldn't submit it for awards. It won't help you with Regeneron STS. It's not going to be impressive in college admissions at all, but they market themselves as, 80% of people who go to an Ivy League school did some kind of science research, right? They have they pay people for this, by the way. They'll pay influencers like people like me. I've been offered, I can't tell you how many thousands of dollars I've been offered by programs like that to promote their programs, and then actually recently they've offered me money just to shut up. Right? They don't even want me to promote anything. They offer me money literally to just stop talking about them, because I was educating students and parents and saying, like, this is just a scam. Like, this is a program where you're going to go write a summary of research papers. Just, by the way, like, AI could do that in 10 seconds. Like, you don't even need a student to do that. It doesn't even make any sense. Literature reviews in actual scientific literature are written by experienced researchers who are experts in the field, who are giving you their opinion of the current state of the field as a whole, right? You can't do that in high school. It's absurd, right? But they're charging you $15,000 to do something ridiculous, which everybody who's ever worked in science knows is ridiculous, and then they call it science. So the way you would actually get real science research is you'd start by, you want to build up the kind of hard skills that would make you useful to one of the real scientists. That's where the CS50 comes in. You learn how to do some data analysis, because that sets you apart from all of the very selfish. And I will say this, you probably experience this with, especially with kids looking for internships. You ever experience kids who just get rejected from all that stuff because they're being too selfish? Like I get that all the time, where like someone will be like, "Oh, give me science research," and then you ask them, "Okay, great," and so basically what you're doing is you're asking somebody who's a professional in the field, they have a job to do, to spend their valuable time mentoring you. And
it's work to manage an intern.
A lot of work.
A lot of work.
And what are you giving them in return? What are you going to, your interest? You think they're just going to do it for free?
This is why you need to be building a list of people who you're interested in their work, that align with, the things that you're passionate about, and start cold emailing them. You're going to have to cold email like hundreds of people.
100%.
And then the one person who does get back to you, you're going to have to figure out how to nurture that relationship
100%.
and give back and know exactly what's going on in their work and be able to mention it by name. And now you're going to learn the skills of networking.
Yes.
And relationship building. And there's a shortcut to this, guys. You can't just pay 10 grand and get all of that.
You can't get any of it.
No.
Right. And I say this because like having worked in a lab too, like this is the crazy part. Kate, I know I started working in physics research when I was 15. Do you know how many hours of like direct one-on-one mentorship it took to get me to the point where I was doing anything remotely useful in that lab?
Maybe 150, 200?
More.
600,
easily.
1,000?
I was there every weekend and full time in the summers for I think over a year and a half before I was doing anything productive in that setting.
I believe that. Yeah.
And that's what it takes just to get you up to speed.
Yeah.
That's not what it takes to get you to the point where you're now contributing. No. That's like
baseline.
That's baseline.
Yeah.
And like, these programs that these scam programs are out here saying, oh yeah, you can just go do this with 10 hours and like, pick your own topic too. You get to pick something you're interested in. Like, what do you mean? You're trying to learn how to do science. You're going to do the work that they're interested in. You don't get to pick your topic. But you want to basically do then, once you're trained up, you get a list of like a couple hundred professors. I have some templates if you go on my page of like what you should be emailing them. That's pretty much it. You just email.
Yeah, keep it short, guys.
Very
keep
short.
It very short.
Please, very short.
Focused on what's interesting about their work, how it connects back to you and your skill set and your interests. And then, just don't send like mass emails to people.
Right.
Don't do that.
And if you're emailing multiple professors from the same department, please, for the love of God, don't do it on the same day.
Yes, that's smart. That's a good move.
No, because they all get lunch together.
Yeah.
Right? And they're going to be like, oh, I got, the email from Andreas. Oh, you too? Oh, you too? Oh, you too? Oh, we all got this email from Andreas. Oh, that must be one of those spam kids
Then they
again.
don't feel special.
No, not even a little bit.
No.
Yeah. So you're giving the game away with that. So just be careful with that one.
Oh, the benefit of Andreas having this experience in the physics lab is like so invaluable.
I try to explain it to people, and that's why I've taken such a stand against this stuff because, to be honest, like I take it a little personally because I feel like they're kind of polluting the science with it, right? Yeah. And I want kids to get real exposure to science because it's really cool. And here's the crazy part too. You probably know this certainly from the admission side of this, right? When they submit their applications, then there's a research abstract that can go along with your application. That gets read by an actual professor at the college. You think that guy doesn't know the difference between a literature review and real research? Bro, come on. They know.
We're not fooling anybody.
No, not even
It's like trying to take an art elective to boost your GPA,
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
I want to go to NYU real estate. How much will having a lot of real estate ECS classes matter?
Yeah, so once go to NYU real estate, how much will having a lot of real estate extracurriculars matter?
My perspective on this is that it's such a specific program.
Yeah.
And it's such a niche program. You should probably have some shadowing work, have an internship that you've done.
100%.
And have a really good reason for why this is so interesting to you.
Yeah.
Something that's compelling. If I were you, I would, again, cold email people, talk to them, interview people, find out more about the field, like what's on the cutting edge of the field, where's the field going. You're always going to have an advantage there, but it's a very specific interest. So, make sure that you have something to back that up.
Yeah, I had a friend who did a similar program at UMiami, and his whole family was in real estate development. And so he grew up in real estate development, and he was working with his dad's company for years. Yeah. And then, when he wrote his applications, it was like, oh, okay, well, I want to, get to the point where I'm leading the company. That's why I'm here, right? Which is reasonable, by the way, because it's a pre-professional program. It's not like one of those like, oh, go find yourself programs. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Can a 4.0 GPA, good essay, and elite extracurricular help with 1410 SAT for IB and T20? I'm an international student.
Oh, international student this time. It's really tough. It's really tough for international kids right now.
Yeah. So the question was, can a 4.0 GPA, really great essays and extracurriculars make up for a 1410 SAT for international students? I'll let you take this one first.
Well, it's like you say, like anything above a 1400 you want to submit.
You do want to submit it. I don't know if it's going to work, but you do want to submit it.
Yeah, but when you're talking about the relatively diminishing pool of international applicants that are even like accepted right now, you have to be the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
And I just worked with an international applicant this past year who like had a lot of bells and whistles, but I wouldn't say the bar is just extremely high for international set right now with the political climate the way it is. And, my suggestion would be maybe look closer to where you are or abroad before you come to the U.S. and think long-term for graduate school.
And employment.
Long-term, yeah.
Yeah, because like a lot of people think that, and this used to be a track, I guess, for a ton of people where you'd come to the U.S., you'd do your undergrad here, you'd go on OPT, right, which is sort of like it used to be almost like a guaranteed like temporary work visa as soon as you graduate, and then you could go work for some companies here for a little bit, they get to know you, and then they would then bring you on as H-1B. That used to be a whole track, and the administration nuked that this year. And that's why like we saw, believe it or not, like applications from India this year to American colleges are down 50%.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's massive.
Wow.
Massive. India and China like through the floor for that reason, because they weren't, and again, I don't think this really applies as much to Ivies, because a lot of them were really just going to like degree mills, just so they could end up working in the US, right? And so that entire employment trajectory just got destroyed. They're not doing that anymore. So there's that. One caveat I would have to this question would be like, under what curriculum was your GPA 4.0? Right? Because if it was a local curriculum internationally, hell no, right? Hell no, you are not making up for a 1410 with a 4.0 local curriculum, because they don't trust your grades, right? But if it's IB, maybe, right? IB, you have some AP scores, maybe you can do that. A-level curriculums, and if you have like if you're projected A stars, I've seen some people get away with that before. That's the difference.
Now nearly everyone has 4.0s. How would I differentiate myself from those in terms of extracurriculars?
Okay, so the question was, now almost everyone has 4.0s. How would I differentiate them in terms of extracurriculars? I'm going to have a conniption with this question.
I know. I was like, oh, God.
What on earth possessed you to make you think that you're going to make up for GPAs with extracurriculars? Like, that's not how this works. Like you have academics and you have extracurriculars, and these things don't mix, right? Except for like rare cases. Like the only exception I would think would be like an Olympiad. Like if you get like here, IMO gold, right? Yeah, obviously that's an academic accomplishment. Likewise, if you get, Regeneron STS finalist, great. That's good for you too. But like with rare exceptions, no, you are not doing anything that will change your academics with your extracurriculars, and vice versa. Like if you have great academics and lousy extracurriculars, that's not doing anything for you. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that.
Someone wanted to follow up on that real estate program. Is a 3.8 GPA good enough for that niche NYU real estate program?
Is a 3.8 GPA good enough for that niche NYU real estate program?
Yeah, you can look it up, what the requirements are for these programs. Just go to the website and take a look at their baseline stats.
Yeah, guys, Google is free, please, for the love of God.
I moved schools second semester sophomore year. My old school didn't have any honors in 9 out of 10, but new school had a lot. How will colleges see my GPA? Will it hurt me since GPA is lower than the rest of the class?
Okay, so this student transferred schools from a high school that didn't have a lot of honors classes, 9th and 10th grade, to a school that does have a lot of honors classes, and probably is dealing with a situation where their weighted GPA is lower than a lot of their classmates because their classmates had honors classes early on. Those were given a higher weight. Will colleges understand that? What do you think?
Well, this is where I feel like in some cases admissions isn't always honest about things like this.
Oh, well, here we go.
Well, they do look at everything, quote unquote, in context.
So they say.
So they say. But I also think, when people come to me, well, my school doesn't have this or it doesn't have that. Well, then it's your responsibility to see what you can do. If those are your goals, if you're going for the super top, you're going to have to supplement.
Yep.
So that is my answer to that question.
And I think there's two other levers that we can pull here. I mean, the first is going to be standardized testing, which is really going to level the playing field. And this is something that, I think people don't fully acknowledge. And, it's one of the things that, thank God for the lawsuit, Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard, because it exposed some of the way that they actually create an academic index. And something that people don't realize is that your SAT and your GPA and things like that are all actually kind of lumped together to create that academic index. And so you can, in fact, increase it with a higher GPA, with higher SAT score, up to a point, obviously. Like, past like 1,500, it's limited returns. But, the other thing I was going to say for that case, if your school is missing something or you have some unusual academic path, and certainly changing schools, different curriculums would qualify for this, it is your responsibility to then explain that to the college in the additional info section.
Yes.
If you explain it in additional info, you tell them what was different, you tell them, what was missing, then they don't have a choice but to notice the context, which you can't expect they're going to know that on their own, right? It's worth it for you if you know that something was weird about your academic progress to tell them, right?
And they do ask this question in the comment
on purpose because they know there's people like you. So that's what I would do.
Is it a bad look I changed my major from finance to medicine junior year due to my passion? Or is there any creative way to shape this for colleges? In year one, what med ECs to build?
Okay.
1570 SAT and valedictorian.
Oh, okay. So this student shifted their interest from wanting to study finance originally to then wanting to go pre-med in their junior year. How would they make up for that? Also mention that they have some pretty strong academics. What do you think?
I would say put your foot on the gas here with finding evidence and stacking evidence. It's not ideal, but it's not unheard of.
No, not at all.
As long as you can point to a really good reason why you shifted, and also try to make connections between these two things if you can. There's an advantage that you have to having experience in one field and then another.
Yep.
My husband and I call it being double dangerous.
Yeah.
So it can actually be a benefit to you.
It can be almost a kind of like a talent stacking thing. So what you could say is okay, I want to go, for example, into biotech one day, right? That could be like a cohesive narrative that blends the two, which would be pretty cool and kind of different, right? Yeah, I like that a lot, right? And then likewise, I mean, junior year, it's actually enough time to build up a lot of ECs.
You got a year and a half. You got a year.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
If you play your cards right, it's not that compressed of a timeline. Yeah.
But I would go hard.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the if you play your cards right is carrying a lot of weight there. It's like you
got the SAT scores though.
That part's nice. So a little bit more free time for that. Yeah, that's good. What else we got?
Are my grades meaningless if I'm an international student from Belgium applying to Columbia?
Ooh, are my grades meaningless if I'm an international student from Belgium applying to Columbia? I think it depends on what your curriculum is. I wouldn't say meaningless entirely, but to the degree that your grades are unfamiliar to American college admissions officers, they're certainly going to weight them a lot less. Okay, I'll give you a great example with this. I had a client who, ironically, she went to school in Turkey, but she went to a school that did the French curriculum in Turkey. Now, the French curriculum, and most Americans probably totally unfamiliar with this, they grade you on a scale from 1 to 20, but the French are assholes in a sense. God bless them, but they really are. They grade.
We're stepping in it now.
They grade no. I mean the way they grade, they're such jerks about the way they grade. Like a 15 out of 20 in the French system would be like a 4.5 in an American system. Okay, they are so harsh in the way they grade. Okay,
doesn't surprise me.
It's nuts, and it's to the point where that would be like a 3.0 GPA when you translate that over to the American, but that poor kid is probably not only brilliant, but working their butt off in the French system because the French are hardcore, right? And that's just the nature of the system. So then, what's an American college admissions officer supposed to do with that, right? They look at that and they say, oh, well, this is some crazy curriculum. This obviously doesn't correspond to what an American kid is doing at all, right? So, I mean, what are they to make of that? They're going to consider, something where there's a common metric, much more seriously. Your SAT score should matter in that case way more, because what are they going to treat you
a
like?
lot easier to assess as
right, exactly. And are they going to treat you like you have a 3.0 GPA? Because we know you don't, right? We know you don't deserve that 3.0 GPA, so it wouldn't be right. And so, it's natural they're going to consider the standardized test more. Yeah, so that's the answer.
Yeah.
Kate, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me. This was so fun. We've talked for like 3.5 hours.
And we're going to talk more too. We're going
go
to dinner lately. You're going to be sick of me by the end of this. Okay.
I'm loving it.
I know. It's a great time. And I really appreciate you and what you guys are doing. I think it's a beautiful thing, especially because, you're focusing on not just getting the kids into college, but like building better humans. And that just makes such a massive difference.
It's like, let's actually solve the real problem here, instead of just like packaging it up and polishing it up and sending you off. Like it's way more satisfying.
100%. Yeah. I love it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back next week-ish. I don't know, whatever schedule we decide to release.
Are you doing this every weekend for a while?
I don't know. I'm recording a lot of them though. So we're going to try to like batch them, and then we'll see what happens.
Exciting.
Right. Yeah, it'll be fun. All right.
Cool.
Bye,
guys.